Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Rias hurts Naruto part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Nature, Gremory Manor. Time: 0800. A yell could be heard throughout the house, making several people jump up in their sleep, before they realized that it was just those of the Nazier home going through their usual morning ritual. Several people fell back and decided to get some shut-eye as they themselves had to get ready for work within the hour. The house in question was more akin to a small manor with 3 floors, a large backyard, and a lawn. Most people didn't bat an eye at this since the construction didn't take that long and they had bought out houses that no one else wanted. Of course, considering that most of the people didn't even remember what had happened was a bonus to the inhabitants of the house. You see, the reason that they didn't remember was because of the simple reason that the house belonged to devils. Specifically the devils of the Gremory clan and their servants. The kitchen was currently occupied by one person. A beautiful tall tan-skinned white-haired young woman with a slim yet shapely figure that made her E-cup pop out and gold-green eyes. She has a rabbit tail and rabbit ear-shaped horns that she allowed out while in the comfort of her own home. She wore a long-sleeve French-made outfit, white stockings and a pair of black boots. As she lifted up her ladle to taste the food, she heard the thundering of feet as they came down the stairs. While a servant of the house, she was actually one of the 2 rooks of her king and master. Looking from her vantage, she saw 4 figures round the corner. It was her master and her fellow peerage members: Mio Gremory, Nanaka Yuki, Nanaka Kurumi, and Hinajima Naruto. Mio was the most beautiful girl in her school. Long crimson hair reaching her waist and pulled into 2 pigtails on the side, leaving a considerable amount out, and pink eyes. At 16 years old, she has been noted for having a distinctly slender yet curvaceous figure with enormous, bouncy D-cup and sizable buttocks. A white sailor uniform that has a black collar and black cuffs that has white horizontal stripes, an orange-colored tie hang from the edges of her collar, a short black skirt that has a single white stripe, long black socks that has a red-colored ribbon around her upper thigh, and a pair of maroon-colored shoes. Around her neck she wore a black choker. Due to her nature as a high-class devil and need to complete contracts and the like, she became president of the student council. She was the king of her peerage and was quite powerful when it came to fire magic as well as her own familial magic of gravity, being the last descendant of the Rain clan. When it came to her personality, Mio could be quite sweet, but could easily become a tsundere when it came to her most faithful servant, and one who had been by her side for years. Yuki is a beautiful young woman with a slim yet endowed C-cup build with a far more notable ass than her rival Mio, light blue, shoulder-length hair that has a longer portion of her hair put into a braid on the left side of her face tied into a single braid, as well as a single long strand of hair, yellow eyes, wearing the same uniform as Mio, only her socks stopped just below her knees with a small white strip at the top. Over her shoulder she had a bakken case. It was only fitting as she was the vice-captain of the kendo team. She was the only knight of Mio's. Considering her skills with the sword as well as her magical abilities with wind, she couldn't be stopped when it came to cutting power. Even with a bakken. Yuki was quite open about her feelings on everything and could be quite open when it came to the matter of sex and relationships. Next was Yuki's little sister, and Mio's only bishop. Kurumi was surprisingly close in stature to her sister in not only cup size, but ass size as well. Blue-violet hair tied up in a ponytail most of the time, using a white scrunchie, and yellow eyes just like her sister. She wore the same uniform as her sister and Mio, but instead of socks she wore white pantyhose. Kurumi was a member of the track team. Kurumi was the baby brat of the group and was easily the one who got annoyed easily. She was also almost always next to her sister's side. Finally was Hinajima Naruto. Currently the only male in the house. He stood at 5 feet 10 inches with muscle that his sisters liked on him very much, black shaggy-looking hair with his bangs that hung in the middle of his face being blonde, dark blue eyes, wearing his school uniform of charcoal black slacks, a white button-up shirt, and a charcoal black blazer, and black shoes. Over his shoulder he had a case similar to Yuki's. Seeing as how he was not only a member of the team, but was the regional male champion and was in the top 10 when it came to national ranking. Naruto actually had quite an important job when it came to the peerage, as he was Mio's queen. Her right hand, as it were. He was charismatic and quite easy to get along with. He was kind and a bit of a joker, but he was always there for his loved ones. Mio-sama, Naruto-sama, Yuki-san, Kurumi-chan. Good morning, said Zest, bowing. Morning Zest-san/hey Zest, morning/hey Zest-chan, came the 4 different replays. I take it Maria-san is still sleeping, said Zest with a small smile. Mio rubbed her head. That lazy succubus won't be up for a while thanks to Naruto-kun banging her brains out last night, said Mio looking at her. Queen, almost as if to give him a stink eye. "And Mio-san, you can't blame Naruto-sama for what that degenerate girl did," said Kurumi with a blush on her face. Naruto laughed. "It's not my fault she sunk into my room last night after her rather long contract. It was a full moon last night, and you know how succubi get on a full moon, Mio-chan," said Naruto. Mio puffed out her cheeks and glared at Naruto. "You didn't have to have sex with her," yelled Mio. "I agree with Nasia, Naruto-kun. You could have come and had your way with me last night. The only reason I didn't sleep with him last night is because I was still sore from my own session with him from 2 days ago," said Yuki. "And Nei-chan, how can you speak like that? It's so unbecoming," yelled Kurumi with a heavy blush on her cheeks. Yuki gave her sister an impassive look. "Didn't you make out with him in his room the other day?" "Nei-sama. That's between me and Naruto-kun," yelled Yuki. Mio blushed in rage. "That's not what I meant, and you know it, Yuki," yelled Mio. Cess shook her head at the antics of the foursome. Dispute Mio being the official master of the peerage, all the girls basically belonged to Naruto mind, body and soul. Despite herself only being in the peerage for a year, the rabbit demon could say that she loved Naruto with all her being. All of the girls loved Naruto in their own way. In fact, once he obtained the rank of high-class devil and gained his own peerage, she planned to join him as his rook. Mio knew this and already gave Zest her blessing to do so. It also didn't hurt matters that not a one of the girls had been a virgin longer than a month after joining the peerage, with the only ones left being Mio, since she was quite happy to give Naruto oral and jobs. At least until she was ready, and Kurumi was content with just making out with him on occasion. 1. Sex was a rather open concept to devils, and it was even quite common for the stronger devils, males and females alike, to have harems in the dozens. At last count, the devil with the largest harem was the great King Baal. At last count, his harem was 243 members, and he had dozens of children. As strange as their peerage was, Zest wouldn't trade it for the world. "Will you four be off to school? Don't forget your lunches," asked Zest. "Hi. We're already late as it is," said Mio as she grabbed her bag along with the others. Zest nodded and bowed to the three. "Very well. Have a pleasant day, everyone," said Zest. The foursome left the house to get the day going. Zest smiled as she made her way to the living room. She still had a lesson plan to do for the local kids. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, front entrance. Time: 0830. Hijigazaka Academy was a private school in South Tokyo that saw several people go through the gates, and many became prominent figures of society. From businessmen to politicians, to star athletes. The school itself sat on top of a small hill. As the three walked into the school grounds, people began to speak about them. Naruto and Yuki mostly ignored it, but Mio and Kurumi couldn't easily ignore what was being said around them. Especially when she was more physically open with Naruto when it came to their relationship. "Look, it's the royals," said one girl. "Oh, Kami-sama, Naruto-san is so handsome. Damn, Yuki-san is beautiful. Mio-sama, marry me," yelled a girl. "Damn that bitch Yuki hogging all that man meat." And that was what they heard every day. Honestly, if it wasn't for Rias coming to the human and looking to get a degree in political science, Mio would have kept her own peerage in the underworld. It was honestly the will of the clan elders that saw the younger generation going out more and more into the human world to understand it. Mio felt it was a waste of time to engage in such pointless activities. But she knew better than to disappoint the elders. Mio sighed. "I'm heading to the student council room. I have to finish some paperwork." "Would you like me to come with you, Mio-sama?" asked Naruto. Mio looked at Naruto. "Don't you have to prep the team for our upcoming matches with Ko Academy?" asked Mio. Kurumi sighed. "It won't matter if Naruto-san preps the team or not, he could single-handedly handle the entire male team himself." Yuki sighed. "Just let him come with you, Mio. I'm sure that you can find something to have him help you with," said Yuki. Mio sighed. "Fine. Follow me then, Naruto. I'll need some muscle to help me with some boxes," said Mio. "Hi, Mio-sama," said Naruto, following after her. As they broke off to head to the student council room, Yuki and Kurumi went their own way to class. Each with their own thoughts. "Too bad I'm not in charge of the disciplinary squad. They are defiantly going to make out in her office," said Kurumi. Yuki raised her hand and chopped her sister's head. Kurumi grabbed her head in pain. "Leave it alone, Rumi-chan. Besides, you're going to be making out with him at home tonight anyway. If only I could convince you to have a threesome with us, then we could have some real fun," said Yuki, smirking at her sister. When she wanted to, Yuki could be a real pervert. Kurumi's face burned up. "Nii-sama!" yelled Kurumi, catching the attention of several people. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, Student Council Room. Time: 0830. The Student Council was gifted the council by the director and principal. It was actually pretty large, with each class having a rep, a vice rep, and a secretary, the year rep, the disciplinary community, and other positions. The council was quite large. In an offshoot chamber was Mio's office that she was allowed for private use when it came to paperwork, and the like. Currently it wasn't used for that. Mio was pressed against the desk with her lips locked with Naruto's, his right hand roughly groping her exposed breast. Mio moaned into the kiss as she ran her hands up Naruto's abs. It wasn't uncommon for Mio to become jealous of the other members of her peerage since they were more intimate with her, queen, than she was. But as a pure-blood devil she was still at the whim of the council, and like Rias had to keep her virginity intact until such a time she was either powerful enough to defy the council, or until a husband was chosen for her. Her only real saving grace was that she didn't have the same stock as Rias did, and was only a branch member of the family. That was tentative at best, as Rias could lose her heiress status to any of her cousins if she proved to be ineffective. Currently that wasn't on Mio's mind, however, as she surrendered herself to the pleasure of Naruto's talented hands and lips. Mio pulled back for the kiss, her tongue out, and her drool connecting to Naruto with a long, thin bridge before it broke. "Naruto-kun, I want more," said Mio. "I know, Mio-sama," said Naruto. "But you must keep your virtue intact." "Chan, call me Mio-chan when we're alone," said Mio as she gripped his hair. Naruto smirked as he bent down to her neck and breathed on it. This sent shivers up Mio's spine. By the Satans, he knew how to drive her nuts. Oh, she was most likely going to watch as he broke zest tonight. Mio's peerage acted like such submissive sluts when it came to Naruto that it wasn't even funny. Especially when it came to their kinks and such. An example of this was Yuki. Yuki was a butt slut. She loved taking it up her ass to the point where if Naruto fucked her she would be mind broken before her second orgasm, or before Naruto even came Satan she was making herself wet. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," came a seductive voice with a teasing tone. Mio and Naruto were brought out of their tryst as they looked at the desk. On the desk was a small magical circle that had the hologram of a woman. She looked to be the same age Mio. She was quite beautiful, ravishing even. Long crimson-red hair that was even deeper shade than Mio's was, blue-green eyes that seemed almost hypnotic and promised things that made you want to devote everything to her, mile-long legs that she wasn't shy about showing off, a nice rounded ass, and a pair of large deep borderline E-cup. Honestly, were it not for the fact that he didn't like her, Naruto was sure that he would have bedded her already. That and her fiancé was a flaming piece of crap. She wore the clothes of the school she currently attended. Ko Academy in Ko, just west of Tokyo. Mio blushed and screamed. Naruto pulled away from Mio as she fixed herself. Naruto fell to knee and bowed his head as Mio fixed herself. Once she was presentable, Mio took a seat. "Sorry about that, Riasatoko. Had I known you were going to call I would have been more presentable," said Mio. Rias chuckled. "It's fine, Mio. This wasn't intended to be more than a social call. Although I'm a bit surprised that you go so far with Naruto-kun. Akino won't be happy about this. You know how possessive that girl can get," said Rias. Naruto frowned. "With all due respect, Rias-sama, what I do is none of Ne-sama's concern," said Naruto. Rias looked at Naruto with a frown. "Despite what you may think, Naruto-kun, Akino loves you, as do I. You represent the house of Gremory, and though you are not one of my servants, I still love you as if you were my own cute little servant in spite of what you think about me," said Rias. Naruto balled up his fist. "Mio-sama, Rias-sama, please excuse me. I have to get to class," said Naruto. Naruto rose to his feet and left the room. Mio looked at Naruto's retreating form and sighed. "Rias, you know that Naruto still hasn't forgive you," said Mio. Rias sighed. "I had to make a choice. I don't regret it, and Akino doesn't hold it against me. I wish Naruto-kun would drop this silly grudge he has with me," said Rias. Mio narrowed her eyes. "We both know why you saved Naruto over his mother, Rias, even when he begged you to save her." Rias closed her eyes. "I have no desire to get into this argument, cousin. I was simply calling to check upon my favorite cousin," said Rias. Mio thought about it before nodding. "I know this, Rias, but do try to remember that as attached to your servants as you are, I am just as attached to mine," said Mio. "Very well," said Rias. "Until I see you again, cousin." Rias cut the connection, leaving Mio to her thoughts. She looked out the window of her office. As she did so, her beautiful pink eyes took on a dark red hue as she allowed her control to slip. The small statue that was on her desk began to deform, before it was seemingly crushed into a ball. Mio snapped out of it and shook her head. "Sometimes I hate that bitch," said Mio, getting up and making sure she was presentable before she left to go to class. Location: Ko Town. Place: Ko Academy, Occult Research Club Clubhouse. Time: 0830. Rias leaned back in her chair as she finished her talk with her cousin and her queen. Honestly, sometimes she wondered what would have happened had she kept Naruto as her queen, instead of trading Naruto to Mio for her unused piece. Once she had completed the trade, she turned Akino into a devil that same day. Would he have been strong enough to help her with her problem? Of course, with his sacred gear it wouldn't have been an issue, considering that it was on the level of a Pseudo Longinus. Very few gears could boast that level of power. Rias shook her heads. At the time she didn't know about his gear, but that's in the past. Rias, let it go, thought Rias. She was brought out of her thoughts as a cup of tea was placed in front of her. Looking up, Rias saw her queen, her best friend, and Naruto's older sister, Himejira Akino, the ultimate sadist and brocon. Akino had told her in confidence that she wanted her first time to be Naruto cheating on his girlfriend with her. As strange as it sounded, Rias believed that Akino could pull it off. Akino was a Yamato Nadeshiko, a traditional Japanese beauty. It didn't hurt that unlike Ria's own more Western European looks, Akino was a native of Japan. She stood at 5 feet 6 inches, with a body that was even more seductive than Rias's or even Mio's. With large G-cup, long tan legs, long black hair tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs with 2 strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place, and violet eyes. She wore the same uniform as Rias. "Everything okay, Rias-chan?" asked Akino. Rias took her cup and took a sip. "I spoke with my cousin just now," stated the crimson-haired princess of Ruin, deciding to rip the bandage off. "Was Ototo there?" asked Akino, holding the serving tray in front of her. "He was, and he's still angry at me," said Rias, looking out the window. Akino bit her lip. "Rias," said Akino, "let me talk to my brother. I think I can make him see the truth." Rias smiled. "You can relax, Akino. As I told Naruto, and I'll tell you, I love you because while you are my servant, you are a member of the House of Gremory. Even if he hates me, I still love him like a little brother. Besides, I told you that I would take the blame upon my shoulders," said Rias, finishing her tea. Akino opened her lips to speak, but quickly closed it. "Of course, Rias." "Come, Akino. We need to get to class," said Rias. Akino nodded and followed after her best friend. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, Academy Roof. Time: 1200. Naruto leaned back on the wall of the roof as he opened his lunch. Normally he would be eating with Mio and the others, but Mio, Yuki, and Kuromi all somehow got lunch detention with Sakazaki-sensei. If it wasn't for the fact that none of them could sense any ill intent from him, Naruto would have been sure that that was trying to set the girls up for something. Naruto opened his lunchbox and began to eat his rich. "So Naruto-kai, how's it going?" asked a boy sitting in front of him. Naruto looked up from his rice at his best friend Takegawa Yahiro. Yahiro was a pretty average guy. He stood shoulder to shoulder with Naruto in terms of height, green hair that appears to be a little slick in the back with strands of his hair showing off his forehead and purple-colored eyes. He took a seat next to Naruto. "What do you want, Lars? I'm not in the mood for your little shadow games," said Naruto. Yahiro's eyes narrowed for a second as they became slitted. "Don't get too full of yourself, Himejima. I'll kill you the moment you become useless to me," said Lars, abandoning all pretense of who he was. "There's the double agent of the Demon Lord's faction and the modern demon faction that I know and hate," smirked Naruto. The underworld was honestly a really fucked up place. Considering how many factions actually made up the entirety of the underworld, it was no wonder it was a melting pot that saw battles raging between factions with a thin veil of peace. The entity of the underworld could probably span several Earths, but no one really knew how large it was. With not only the devils, demons, shades, lesser beings, and the like, it was a wonder that anything got done. Honestly, Naruto didn't want to think of the politics involved currently with the underworld factions. All he knew was that the demon lords and modern demon factions didn't have anyone nearly as strong as Surzex to fall back on. Mio and the others knew about Naruto's dealing with Lars, but made sure to keep it within the family as far as they were concerned. Despite the demon's threats, Lars and Naruto actually had a pretty good relationship, at least when they weren't trying to kill each other. And nowadays it was more or less glorified full-out sparring. At last count it was 106 to 84 in Naruto's favor. But considering that Lars was a high D, Low C-ranked threat in Naruto's book was nothing to sneeze at, as Naruto only considered himself a low C-ranked fighter. 2. So what do you want, Lars? Asked Naruto. Something interesting hit my information network just a few days ago, said Lars. Naruto looked at him. What is it? Asked Naruto, interested. Rumblings in the Demon Lord faction. A lord has vanished. A high-profile one at that, said Lars, leaning back as he pulled out a cup of noodles from his pocket space. Naruto looked at Lars. What do you mean a lord went missing? Asked Naruto, taking a bite of fish. It's just as I said. A lord went missing. His name is Zalgir. He had major influence in the demon faction. He was extreme by even the king of lord standards, said Lars. But why did he vanish? Asked Naruto. No clue. I can tell you that his disappearance is nothing good. All I know is that you might want to watch out for Mio and the rest of your women if the rumblings on the MDF are anything to with. What do they started Naruto. The door to the roof opened. 2 girls walked on the roof, giggling about something or other as they turned and looked. Oh look, it's Himejima-san and his friend. Yahiro laughed as he clapped Naruto's shoulder. Somehow I'm always getting left in your shadow, Naruto-kai, but I guess that's the price of fame, suffed Yahiro. Naruto gave a small laugh of his own as he listened. The girls came up and began to talk to them. All the while the information was still inside of his head. Why would Lars bring this to his attention? Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, Kendo Club Dojo. Time: 1720. The members of the Kendo Club etched as Naruto and Yuki battled with clashes that could be heard throughout the dojo. Naruto jumped backwards of Yuki's attack only to counterattack as she parried the blow upwards. Yuki saw her chance to end the fight. You're open, Naruto-kun, as she lowered herself and went for a thrust. Naruto let go of his bakken and spun to the left, grabbing the bakken with his right and in going for a slashing motion on Yuki's exposed neck, stopping just a hair shy of knocked her out. Dead, said Naruto. Yuki went back to her starting position and bowed to Naruto. Naruto returned the bow as the other members of the club clapped for the duo. Naruto and Yuki turned to the others. Alright, you lot, we have a match against Ko next week. Now I don't know about you, but I really don't want to be defeated by them. They may have only allowed males on the team as of last year when it was converted to a co-ed school, but some of their members are quite formidable, said Naruto. No kidding, Himejima-san. That kid Yuto Kiba has been named as the strongest male in the region, said a male member. Naruto smirked at him. You're forgetting that while he is ranked 1 in the region, I'm ranked 1 in the nationals, said Naruto. The others nodded as Naruto began to pair them up for sparring practice. As he did so, Yuki watched him closely. While she had the smallest emotional range of all of his lovers, she was also the one who could read him the easiest. She knew that something had been bothering him today, especially as he had refused a quickie earlier during lunch. Naruto normally didn't turn them down if she offered, considering that he had a high libido and that she was the only one who was willing to sate him during school hours. Not only that, but his fighting was a lot more aggressive than normal. Naruto didn't like to counter-fight or do defense, but he was easily one of the best counter-fighters she knew in that regard. He had been out of it since this morning. Yuki-chan, said Naruto. Yuki was brought out of her thoughts by her captain and lover. Hi, Naruto-kun. Take 5 laps around the track and take Hitomi-san and Jin-kun with you, said Naruto. Yuki nodded. Hi, Naruto-kun, said Yuki as she took her group and began to run. After an hour of work, the Kendo group finished their workout and hit the showers. After finishing and changing, the team left with Yuki and Naruto meeting Kurumi and Mio. The group began to walk home. All of them not even winded from their activities. They arrived at the train station fairly quickly. Once they set foot on the train, they all rested with Naruto standing in front of the girls. Once they arrived at the station, it was a 5-minute walk to their home. Naruto opened the door. We're home, said Naruto as they took off their shoes. Not even a second later, a figure flew out of nowhere and tackled Naruto. Naruto-sama. Maria, miss you. The girl who was on Naruto was Mio's, Rook, and younger half-sister, Maria. Maria was a petite, beautiful girl with long silver hair and purple eyes in her human form, most of the time with B-cup, purple eyes, and very mischievous smirk on her. She wore a black dress that has white frills keyhole on her collar, black leggings, and boots that have a purple hearts on them. If any of the girls could be considered Naruto's most frequented lover, it would be Maria. It was actually Maria who had been the first girl to have sex with Naruto. Hello, Maria, said Naruto. Maria smirked as she locked lips with Naruto in an intense kiss. Since Maria was a succubus, her kisses and aura were damn near irresistible to an average weak-willed human. Luckily, Naruto was far from weak-willed. Wrapping his arms around Maria, he pulled her into his lap. Mio glared at her younger sister. "What would your Ka-san say, Maria?" yelled Mio. Maria pulled away from Naruto and smirked at her sister. "She'd ask me why I'm not a bigger slut, and why I don't have like 100 or so lovers or kids," said the white-haired girl before sticking out her tongue. Mio and Kurimi both blushed and sputtered in outrage and embarrassment, despite the fact that currently 3 of the 5 females in the house were sleeping with Naruto. And Maria was not the quit type when she was really in the mood. "Maria/hentai!" yelled Mio and Kurimi. "Speaking of which, how is Shilia-sama?" "I didn't see her in class today," said Yuki. "Remember that Ka-san is a arch-succubus and leading member of our race. She was called into a conference with the other arch-succubi and the queen herself." Mio looked at her sister and got a look back. While not powerhouses by any stretch of the imagination, the succubi nation, as it was called, was pretty powerful in its own right. If you included their sister race in Vila, the half-human flame-wielders, then politically the succubi were easily in the range of the lesser religions and supernatural groups like the Lyco Pax or the vampire clans in terms of power. They had more state secrets and skeletons on high-profile individuals. It was even rumored that the queen succubus herself had seduced and bedded Michael himself. Mio knew from her lessons with her adopted mother that the race itself was closer to extension than anything, with only 1,000,000 succubi the world over. In that entire number there were only 50 arch-succubi and 2 princess succubi and a queen. That queen was Lady Morrigan Ensland, the strongest succubus in the underworld aside from the original succubus and the first Lucifer's wife Lilith. 1. "Why would Morrigan call a meeting of this magnitude?" asked Mio. Maria shrugged her shoulder. "No idea. Mother will tell us once she returns from the meeting. No need to worry, Mio-sama. Besides, Luciane-sama is a powerful mistress succubus and will protect Ka-sama if anything unwanted happens. I hope everyone is ready to eat. Maria and I made duck tonight," said Zest, walking into the living room. Naruto stood up and gave Zest a kiss that almost sapped her strength from her, making her weak in the knees. Before they could go any further, Naruto felt something ping him in the back of his mind. He sighed in annoyance. "Sorry girls, I have to go, I've been summoned," said Naruto with a small smile. "Is it a regular or something?" asked Yuki with narrowed eyes. Naruto rubbed his cheek while giving a nervous chuckle. "It's Hasegawa-sensei," said Naruto. Mio, Yuki, and Kurumi all instantly grow annoyed at the name of the client. As far as the contracts went, each of them had their own regular customers. One of Naruto's just so happened to be the school nurse, Hasegawa Chisato. While Yuki and Mio were the most popular girls since they were both good-looking and sexy, either had anything on Chisato. Aside from being the most popular teacher on campus, she tended to spend a lot of time filling in as a surrogate writing teacher. Considering that only 4 people took her class this year, and it was only for 1 day out of the week, she had plenty of free time. Mio lost her annoyance and sighed. "Very well, make sure to return quickly." "I don't want you out all night," said Mio. Naruto nodded and he activated his magic and teleported out. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hasegawa Apartment. Time: 1900. Naruto appeared in the studio apartment of Hasegawa-sensei. It was pretty nice, all things considered. Naruto looked at the couch and saw a new 72-inch TV, a new TV stand, a few game systems, as well as a new computer. "You got here quicker than expected," came a voice from the room. Naruto looked and saw that it was Chisato. Chisato is a stunningly attractive woman with sexy hip-length black hair that has bangs hanging on the right side with 2 ahogis, green eyes, a mole under her left eye. She stood at about 5 feet 8 inches with large DD cup, wearing a green knitted sleeveless turtleneck, a tight black miniskirt along with her cross-garter motif stockings, red round glasses, 1 earring on her left ear. Her signature white lab coat was currently hanging up. Naruto gave a bow. "Good evening, sensei," said Naruto. Chisato smiled at Naruto. "I told you before, Naruto-kun, when it's you and me and I'm not wearing my lab coat, call me Chisato," said the alluring beauty as she walked over and hugged Naruto. Naruto had to resist his stronger devil urges to throw Chisato onto the couch and make her one of his women. Chisato had been a client of Naruto's for about 6 months now. She would call him up at least once a week. Sometimes she wouldn't even do it in contract form. If she was so kind and caring, and if Naruto were a weaker man. Chisato let go of Naruto. "I needed some help with setting up my new stuff," said Chisato. "Why did you buy new stuff, Chisato?" asked Naruto. The beauty moved a stray strand of hair behind her ear. This had the unfortunate effect of exposing her neck to her. By the Satans, this woman was killing him. One of the girls wasn't going to be walking right in the morning at this rate. My stuff was almost 4 years old. I figured it was time for an upgrade. We better get to work then, otherwise we'll be here all night, said the dark-haired male. The duo set to work and completed the task in about 2 hours. The entire time this was happening, Chisato would bend, move or touch Naruto in such a way that his libido was flaring so damn much that he had to use all his willpower to not just take her as she was. Once the duo finished, they sat on the couch and turned on the TV. Before long, both ended up sitting down and just watching TV without realizing it. Before either knew it, they fell asleep on the couch. 3. Naruto awoke when he felt a ping from his cell phone. Looking around the darkened room, he saw that Chisato was laying on his lap. Naruto pulled out his phone and winced. It was almost midnight. While he would never sleep with anyone behind the girl's back, even at the encouraging of Maria, and Zest's more laid-back attitude when it came to sex, he would never stoop so low. That wouldn't stop Mio, Yuki and Kurumi from outright giving him hell. He pulled out his phone and paled as he saw the number of texts and missed calls he had. Yeah, he was fucked, and not in a good way. Mio and the others are going to kill me, said Naruto. Naruto-kun, said Chisato, opening her eyes and rubbing them. What time is it? It's almost midnight. I have to go, sensei, said Naruto. Alright. Be careful out there, said Chisato as she kissed Naruto on the forehead and began to whisper something. Naruto wasn't sure what it was, but he felt something latch onto his magic. He nodded to Chisato and ran out of her apartment. As Naruto rushed down the street, he was trying to figure out how he was going to spin this so he didn't get in trouble by the girls. He was halfway home when he felt a magic barrier go up. Naruto stopped and frowned at this. He looked around and noticed several lesser demons. Not even in a category like Devil or Yuki. The lost kind, as they were referred to. Not even strong enough to make it into the F ranks of Naruto's personal bingo book. Naruto counted them out and counted 6 of them in all. They all took the gaze of regular human thugs, but their stench made Naruto want to puke. Naruto rolled up his sleeves and allowed lightning to spark on his fingers, flaring just a bit of his power. This stopped everyone from moving any closer. Weaklings, thought Naruto. You picked the wrong territory, the wrong day, and definitionally the wrong guy. Well, at least I got an excuse as to why I'm late, said Naruto. Damn, I didn't think we'd catch a servant of Gremory inside of our little web, said the apparent leader of the group. He was smaller than the others, but he could be considered borderline F-ranked. Before we get started, does anybody want to leave? Asked Naruto as a smirk appeared on his face. 4. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, Academy Roof. Time: 0000. The demons charged at Naruto, all with the intent to kill except for the leader, who seemed to be a little bit smarter than the others. That was fine by Naruto. He liked fighting one-on-one as it was. Naruto pulled his fist back and fathered lightning in his right hand. Multi-lighting javelin, yelled Naruto, throwing his hand out, unleashing 13 bolts of lightning. All 13 hit the mark, instantly destroying the demons, but the leader was protected by the barrier. The leader spat on the ground as he let his barrier sizzle and die. It took a lot more power than he expected to maintain his defenses so he wouldn't die, and while he was already down to half of his power, Naruto was still at the height of his power. Damn, you're a lot stronger than I thought, said the leader. You know that you're in the territory of Lady Mio Gremory. As her queen, it's my job to defend said territory from all Rouge elements. As I know every supernatural being within the Shinjuku district that are registered to live here. You're not one of them, said Naruto. The leader smirked. Brilliant deduction, but I'm more than a match for a low-class devil, yelled the leader as his skin ripped apart, and he grew in size. He now stood at about 10 feet tall and packed with muscle. A single horn was stood out like a zip on his head. Naruto snorted. Great. A fucking Oni. And not a very strong one either, said Naruto. The Oni laughed. Your little lighting blast won't be able to hurt me. Naruto held out his right hand as a green glow appeared. Normally I wouldn't use this on a weakling like you, but it's been a long time since I used it in a while. I feel that I've neglected my partner. Let's kill this idiot. Brynhildr, yelled Naruto as his forearm was covered in silver gauntlet with a large curved great sword in his hand. 1. The sword pulsed at the center where a green orb seemed to float. For a moment the Oni was sure that the thing was talking to the brat. The Oni roared as he charged at Naruto. Naruto snorted as his right eye glowed green as he swung his sword. The Oni stopped for a moment, before he looked down at his chest. A green cut that spanned the length of his chest was there. Disappear into the void and repent for the sin of underestimating me, said Naruto. The Oni roared in pain as his body seemed to implode on itself before he vanished, leaving nothing, not even blood. That was a waste of our time and magic, Naruto-san, came a voice from the sword. I was hoping that he would have been at least a challenge. You didn't even have to use a real attack. Naruto smiled. I'm sorry, Hilda-san. I thought you'd enjoy the excursive. Next time you summon me, Naruto, it'd better be worth our time. Even by your standards, he was barely worth the effort, said Hilda before the sword and gauntlet vanished. Naruto chuckled as he thought of his partner. Banishing Shift was a really powerful gear. When he first unlocked it, he had no idea about Brynhildr sealed inside or how to use it beyond a simple sword. Thanks to his training with Brynhildr, he had been able to unlock 2 of her movies and could unleash Banishing Shift at different levels of intensity. What he did just a moment ago was his lowest setting. I better report this, said Naruto as he summoned a small circle on his hand. Out of his hand came a hologram of Mio, and she was only wearing a towel. Where the hell are you, Naruto-kun? Lee sent Mio-sama. This is important, said Naruto, trying hard not to stare at her beautiful body. Mio's rage quickly left her face at his tone. What happened? I just got attacked by some unranked trash from the Demon Lord faction. Not to mention that Lars told me some pretty interesting information today, said Naruto as he relied what Lars told him to Mio. Interesting. Had I known about this, I would have dealt with this quickly, said Mio. Naruto gave a small chuckle. That's what I'm here for, Mio-sama. It wasn't a problem, said Naruto. The fact that such low-level beings managed to influence your territory worries me a bit. And you think that we're the target? Asked Mio. According to my sources, I'm willing to bet a year's worth of ramen on it, said Naruto. Very well. Return home, and as punishment you are not allowed to sleep with any of the girls until Saturday, and you can't jack off, said Mio, smirked. Naruto looked horrified. Wait, Mio. That's not fair, said Naruto. Mio laughed. Neither is sleeping with sensei. Enjoy your blue balls, Naruto-kun, said Mio as she cut the connection. Naruto stood there frozen in shock. It was only Tuesday. He had to wait 4 days before he could get his rocks off. Fuck! Yelled Naruto to the heavens. Location, Ko Town. Place, Akino's home. Time, 0250. Oh fuck. Yes. I'm coming, yelled Akino as her back arched and her toes curled as she gripped her covers in ecstasy as the knot that was inside of her broke as her juices flooded from her core and onto her queen-size bed. Akino lay panting as she removed her toy from herself and raised it to her lips, before sucking it clean, imaging that it was her little brother that was doing this to her. Just thinking about her brother did this to her. Most days Akino keep her mind off of Naruto. How was he doing? Was he eating well? Was he healthy? Was Mio treating him right? These questions plagued her constantly. It was one of the reasons that she wore the mask of the ultimate sadist. To hide the pain in her heart, even from herself. Akino finished cleaning her toy and rolled over, allowing it to fall to the floor. For most of the day her body had been on fire. It was a good thing that Rias gave Akino the night off, especially considering that she had spent nearly 4 hours bringing herself to orgasm after orgasm with different methods. The last one had been quite vanilla for her tastes, but it got the job done. While she had been able to please herself, she still wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Not until she heard his voice. Akino picked up her phone. It was nearly 3 in the morning. Luckily, she could function with only 3 hours of sleep. She didn't bother to open her contacts, and just hit the 2 button for speed dial. Please be awake, Naruto-oto. I need to hear your voice, thought Akino, biting her thumb. The phone rang for a minute, before Naruto picked it up. Wani-san? It's almost 3 in the morning. Is everything alright? Asked Naruto. He sounded alert. That meant that he was doing some devil work. Akino smiled. Hi. Everything is fine, Naruto. I just needed to hear your voice before going to sleep. It's been weeks since we talked and almost 4 months since we've seen each other, said Akino. You're right. It has been a while. How about we rectify that? Are you free this Saturday? Asked Naruto. Akino's eyes widened. Hi. I'm free. In fact, it's my off day, exclaimed the Yamato Nadeshiko, happy for a chance to spend time with her brother. Great. How about we met up at Ko Northern Plaza? At that 1 o'clock fountain you like so much and make a day of it, said Naruto. Akino couldn't help the smile that spread on her face. Of course. I feel better now, said Akino. Good night, Naruto, I love you. I love you too, Akino Wani-san. Good night, said Naruto as he hung up. Akino wanted to squeal, even as she fell backwards onto the bed and snuggled into her sheets as she began to dream up ways to seduce her younger brother. Once in her dreams her thoughts went into alive with him. A house in Lilith, kids, a high-ranking position in the military, later a seat on the council and kinky bondage orgies. Akino's mind was a very dangerous place to be. Location, Ko Town. Place, Northern Entertainment Plaza. Time, 1300 Saturday. Naruto sighed as he stood outside of the fountain waiting for his sister to appear. He wore a white shirt with orange sleeves, blue jean pants, and boots. His hair was slicked back opposed to its normal spiky and wild look. Naruto Toto! Yelled Akino as she ran and hugged Naruto. Naruto looked at his sister and then smiled at her. She wore a pink sleeveless button-up shirt with the top 3 buttons undone, a purple ruffled skirt and matching vest, white stoking, a pair of high heels, a few silver bangles, and a silver heart-shaped necklace on a silver chain. Naruto let go of Akino and looked her over. Akino-san. It's been too long, said Naruto. Akino smiled at Naruto. So you ready to get our date on, said Akino. Holy crap. I knew Akino-san smoking hot ass had to be giving the poo-tang pie up to some rich dude. What did you expect, my friend? She is one of the great ladies of Ko, although with her near-perfect sizes of B102W60H89cm, we should have expected, said Motohama in a rather creepy way. Naruto and Akino looked at the person who said this. Akino with a teasing smile, while Naruto looked at them with rage. The dude on the left had a shaved head, with thick slightly triangular eyebrows, wearing a baseball shirt with the number 18 on it, and shorts. The guy on the right had pretty average black hair, wore glasses, a black shirt with some modal on it, and a pair of jeans. 2. Who the hell are you two? Asked Naruto, stepping in front of Akino and putting his right hand in front of her low and out, as if he was her shield. Check it, player. I'm Matsuda and I'm a badass that all the babes want to get with. My is that will pierce even heavens, said the bald-headed idiot, striking a pose. Naruto's left eye twitched. I might have to kill this kid, thought Naruto. The other boy tilted his glasses in a Kamina-esque way. And I'm Motohama, with my eyes I can accurately guess anything about a girl with no issues, said Glasses. Akino put her hand in front of her mouth. I can't believe I'm finally meeting the famous perverted trio, said Akino. Naruto looked at his sister. Perverted trio? Asked Naruto. They have a bit of a reputation at our school. Even with all the boys there ogling the girls and whatnot, Matsuda-san, Motohama-san, and another boy are a cut above the rest. While many girls don't really like it. I find it somewhat endearing, said Akino. You still never introduced yourself, friend, said Motohama. Naruto narrowed his eyes. If you must know, I'm Akino's younger brother, Himejima Naruto. Brother! Yelled the duo. Akino laughed. Hi. Naruto is my precious little brother. He doesn't attend Ko and lives in Tokyo. It's only an hour or so commute by train or bus, but because my brother wants to be a politician, maybe even become Prime Minister someday. He takes his studies seriously, said Akino as she latched onto Naruto's arm. And what about you, Akino-san? Asked Motohama. I remember hearing that Rias-san plans on going into her family business when she returns to Germany, but what about you? Akino blushed. I'm hoping to settle down and be a simple housewife, said Akino as she gave a small glance at Naruto. Hey Motohama, Matsuda, come back so we can tail them, called a voice. The group turned to see a girl running up to them. The girl was pretty cute. Even by human standards, even though she was on the skinny side of things. Her were only a size B, but she appeared to be a late bloomer. Golden eyes that held mischievous that could probably rival Akino's on a bad day, long messy brown hair that was pulled into braids on the sides of her head. She wore a purple shirt that was slightly too big for her, black shorts that the shirt slightly covered, and white shoes. She also wore a pair of glasses. 3. Who is this? Asked Naruto, looking at Akino. Not sure, said Akino. I don't really keep up with the lower years aside from the perverted trio and my good friend Kaneko-chan. The girl looked at Akino and smiled. Kiryu Akiya. You could say that I'm the girl's greatest weapon when it comes to keeping these idiots in line, said Akiya. Naruto smiled. Nice to meet you, Kiryu-san, said Naruto. Akiya looked at Naruto as her eyes widened in shock. Just looking at Naruto made the world fall away as his aura blow her clothes away, leaving her naked, before the man know this beautiful creature before her. She had scanned every boy in Ko Academy with her one-size scouter. She knew that the two biggest guys in Ko were Issei and Saji, with Kiba bringing up the rear, but none of them compared to the male before her. He was packing a bitch breaker in his pants. Just his sheer size and pressure of his aura alone, not to mention the fact that she knew that he had experience, made Akiya cream her panties. Akiya got weak in the knees before she fell backwards into Motohama and Matsuda. "Yo girl, you good?" asked Matsuda, showing concern for his friend and fellow pervert. Akira panted. "It's too much," said Akiya. "What are you talking about?" asked Motohama. "That's not a man before us. He's a legendary bitch breaker," Akiya nearly screamed out as she creamed herself a second time. Good thing she normally carried 2 extra pairs of panties with her. Motohama and Matsuda nearly dropped her as they looked at Naruto in awe. They had heard to the stories of the bitch breakers, but didn't think they would ever meet one in person. Only a few were born every generation. To be in the presence of one was just awe-inspiring. It was every pervert's woman's dream and man's nightmare to meet a bitch breaker. "What are you doing out anyway? And where is Issei-san?" asked Akino, putting a stop to this madness. The trio looked at Akino. After a silent talk, it was Akiya who was elected to tell them. "Issei got a date with a girl from some academy. We wanted to see what this chick was like," said Akiya as she took off her glasses and began to wipe them. "The thing is though that the girl was weird." Naruto and Akino looked at each other. Issei was one of several humans that had made the Rias and Sona's must-watch list. The entire school ranged from elementary to college-level education, so the two girls had many to pick from when it came to peerage members. Mio wasn't too worried about finding members at the moment, considering that Rias and Mio's peerages were more or less even when it came to numbers and Rias was on borrowed time. Akiya, she took off her glasses and began to wipe them. "The thing is though that the girl was weird," said Akiya. "Weird how?" asked Naruto. "I couldn't put my finger on any one thing, but her aura was wrong on so many different levels it's not even funny. For starters, she looked like a high-class girl and even acted the part. Her eyes though told another story," said Akiya, putting her glasses back on. "She's not wrong. The babe Issei introduced us to Yuma, I think her name was a total 10. No way in hell she'd go to my bro. As much as I like Issei, dude's only a 6 or 7, no homo," said Matsuda. "Not only that, but when I looked at her something was wrong with my TSS. It said one thing, but her body measurements were wrong for my readings," said Motohama. 4. "Interesting," said Naruto, before he turned to Akino. Akino shook her head. "Later," whispered Akino. "We'll leave you three to it, we have stuff to do." "It's not every day I get to hang out with my brother," said Akino. Naruto and Akino left the trio and walked away a bit before they were alone in an alley. Naruto gripped Akino by her shoulder and pushed her into the wall, before slamming his hand on the wall next to her face. "Start talking, Akino," said Naruto as he allowed his aura to flare. Akino shivered in fear and arousal. Perhaps it would be best not to push her brother at the moment. Location: Ko Town. Place: Northern Entertainment Plaza, Ally. Time: 13:15, Saturday. Akino looked into her brother's eyes. She knew that while she could keep the information to herself, Rias never gave her the order to not say anything about it. However, her loyalty to Rias and her love for her brother were at odds at the moment. However, since technically speaking Naruto was a servant with the same rank as her, no, she outranked Naruto on the simple principle that she was the queen of the heiress primary, while he was only the queen of an heiress candidate. Her speaking of Rias's intentions could come back to bite her in the ass, but it would be easier to repair her rift with Rias than Naruto. "Very well, brother. When school began this year, Kaneko-chan felt a spike of power in one of the humans here. There are several supernatural beings in Ko, and we got worried someone was making a play on Rias's territory. We investigated it, and discovered that it was a random spike from the human Haida Issei. A rather average human by all accounts, except that energy spike." "The human we were talking about earlier?" asked Naruto. Akino nodded. "Yes. We discovered that it was energy similar to that of a sacred gear. Once we knew this, Rias chose to monitor him. Since the spike was random, we figured there was a chance of him never activating his powers. For a long time we figured that he would never activate, and were content to leave him be," said Akino. "What does this have to do with the girl Yuma?" asked Naruto. "About a month ago we caught wind of a group of fallen angels," spat Akino in rage. Naruto ignored this. "You still haven't answered my question, Akino." They were interested in Hyoda-san. Since they weren't causing trouble and only monitoring him, we had no reason to suspect a thing. At least until a week ago, when Yuma approached Issei. For the last week they've been hanging out outside of school and even at Hyoda-san's home. After that we've kept a close eye on him. We're not sure what's going to happen, but Rias has ordered us not to interfere unless it's a dire emergency. Naruto glared at his sister. She gave you that order, but not me, said Naruto as he turned to walk away. Akino turned after him and grabbed his sleeve. Naruto, please think this though. You know as well as I do that Rias started Akino. Won't do a damn thing to me, said Naruto glaring at his sister. Naruto, pleaded Akino, can we just enjoy our time together? Please. I don't want to fight. Naruto grit his teeth. This is just like that time, Akino, the time I begged Rias to save Kachan, and you just stood there, said Naruto as he ripped away from her. Akino looked at her brother's back as he left her alone in the alley. Akino fell to her knees with tears rolling down her face. Naruto, please come back to me, cried Akino. Location, Ko Town. Place, Park. Time, 1859. Naruto looked around the entire plaza panting as he did so. He had been trying for the last few hours to find Issei and this girl, but realized two things: he didn't know what Issei looked like and was sure that the fallen angel was masking her energy. Damn it. This is getting me nowhere. If only I could have a sign. As if the universe was listening, Naruto felt it. A spike of fear, born from an instinctual desire to avoid the item at all costs. He turned to the location it had came from and realized that he wasn't too far from it. Taking into his night speed, Naruto vanished and reappeared as he looked at the two figures standing before him. The fallen angel before him was an attractive young woman with violet eyes having a slender body. She had long silky black hair down to her hips and possessed two sets black feathered wings. Black, leather strap around and under her, a thong-like piece held around her hips by three thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders with three large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black thigh-high heel boots. The other person, who he assumed was Haida, was an average kid who looked like he never worked out a day in his life. Short, spiky brown hair, with two short locks of hair behind his head, and light brown eyes. He wore a red button-up shirt, that blue jean pants. I must admit it was fun being with you. And you're a pretty good kisser. Too bad I'm on a timetable, Isiku, and otherwise I'd have rocked your world tonight. So please, my dear boyfriend, die, yelled the fallen angel as she summoned a pink spear of corrupted holy energy and throw it. Naruto crushed and summoned Banishing Shift, before slashing at the air in front of Issei. A portal appeared before him and ate the spear. Naruto charged at the fallen angel and jumped in the air. Like I'll let you touch me, you half-blood scum, yelled the fallen angel. He summoned lightning into his hand. Half-blood or not, I am still more than a match for you, bitch. Lightning claw, yelled Naruto. The fallen angel looked at Naruto and jumped just out of range of the initial hit, but thanks to a secondary effect, anything within 3 meters of Naruto's body could be electrocuted. The sparks jumped out and hit the fallen angel, making her scream in pain. She fell to her knees. Issei managed to come out of his stupor for a moment. Yuma-chan, yelled Issei as he took a few steps only for a hand to land on his shoulder. Turning around, he saw Rias Gremory standing there with a frown on her face. Rias-senpai, you need to get started Issei, concerned for his upperclassmen. Sleep, said Rias, inducing a sleeping spell on Issei, making him fall back into her arms. You've overstepped what I will and won't allow, fallen angel-san. Know that as of this moment you've made my personal list of those who I will kill, said Rias with narrowed eyes. Yuma looked at Naruto and then at Rias before cursing. She could probably take on the boy and maybe win, but both him and the heiress of Gremory was out of her power range. Crouching a bit, she took to the skies. Get back here, crow bitch, yelled Naruto. I'm not fool enough to take on two devils of your caliber. Remember my name, Gremory and servant of Gremory. My name is Rainier, and the next time we meet I will send you both to the afterlife 1,000 times, said Rainier, though gritted teeth. Naruto pulled his sword back and channeled his lightning into it, before he could unleash the attack Raionra flow off, leaving Naruto and Rias alone with the sleeping Issei. Naruto turned to Rias, who glared at him. Naruto returned the favor. I think you and I need to talk, and I'm summoning your master to this meeting since you overstepped your boundaries in my territory, said Rias. What about the kid? Asked Naruto. Don't worry about Issei. I'll take care of him in the morning, said Rias. You know where my headquarters is. I will see you there along with the others in 15 minutes. Once Rias vanished, Naruto sighed in annoyance. This was just perfect. Location: Ko Town. Place: Ko Academy, ORC Clubhouse. Time: 2010. The club room interior is a wood-paneled room with Victorian-style couches and chairs along the walls. One side is set up to be able to be used as a bath, and a large Gremory family magic circle is also there to allow teleportation to and from clients. Honestly, it was quite a quaint little place that was seemingly homely. Although that wasn't quite the atmosphere at the moment. Especially with Rias currently releasing a ministerial amount of her power to make it clear that she was pissed off at the moment. Mio sighed as she stood before Rias with Naruto a step behind her. Rias sat behind her desk with Akino to her right as well as two additions to the group. Standing guard at the door was Rias's knight, Yuto Kiba, and her rook, Tuju Kaneko. Kaneko wasn't very tall, standing at only 4 feet 6 inches. She could have easily been mistaken as a middle schooler, white hair and a short bob cut. She also wears a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair, and gold eyes. She wore the girl's uniform without the shoulder cape. Kiba, a handsome young man with short blonde hair, blue eyes, he was only a few inches shorter than Naruto, wearing a black blazer with white accents over a white, long-sleeved dress shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants, and brown dress shoes. Heiress Gremory, why have I been summoned before you? Asked Mio, deciding that it was best to do this formally. Rias glared at Mio. Daughter of Gremory. Your servant overstepped his boundary when he interfered in a matter that I was personally handling, said Rias. Mio looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Naruto-kun, you didn't interfere in the affairs of another territory, did you? Asked Mio. Interfering in another devil's human world territory was a crime, especially when the person was the heir/heiress without permission. Even for Naruto to visit was a bit of a stretch. Had Naruto been a member of another family, then it would have needed permission to enter her zone. Because Naruto was a member of the Gremory family by his status as queen, to Mio was the only reason he was allowed to enter into the. If I didn't interfere, that kid would have died, said Naruto. Regardless of what you did, Akino did tell me that you knew that I was personally handling the situation. The only reason I haven't punished you is. Punish him, growled Mio. You may be my cousin and heiress to the clan, but Naruto acted in accordance to the Humans/Devil Preservation Act as created by the Satans when they came into power. Yes, and according to that same act, Naruto shouldn't have interfered in my official business. I knew about the fallen angels, but didn't act as I was waiting for them to disrupt the ceasefire. Naruto grit his teeth. So you were planning on letting him die? Asked Naruto. Rias looked at him. I couldn't interfere. The fact of the matter is, I was going to approach Issei and ask him to become my pawn. Whatever he has inside of him attracted the attention of the fallen angels who snuck into my territory. How long before he attracted the attention of the Norse? The angels? The Shinto? You may not think much of me, of Naruto, but I won't allow my territory to become a battleground, said Rias. Naruto looked at Rias, before bowing. Hi, Heiress Gremory, said Naruto. Rias sat back in her chair. Considering that you were acting in what you thought was in the best interest of House Gremory, I'll let this incident slide under the condition that I may call upon you to act on my behalf 2 times, said Rias. Mio glared at Rias. That is acceptable, Heiress Gremory, said Mio. Rias nodded before smiling. Now that that is settled, I insist that you both stay the night as my personal guests. We'd be honored, said Mio, bowing to her cousin. My little brother can stay with me, said Akino. Rias smiled. Very well. It's quite late, and I still need to get in touch with Issei by Monday, said Rias. Location: Ko Academy. Place: Akino's apartment. Time: 2200. Akino walked into her room using a towel to dry her hair. She wore a pure white kimono. Once they had arrived at Akino's apartment, he went right to the bathroom to change. Akino had prepared some clothes and then managed to catch Naruto doing his sit-ups. Akino looked at her brother with a blush and rubbed her thighs together. Keep it together, Akino. One day Naruto will have his rather wicked way with you. And you can be a masochist slut to your heart's content, thought Akino. Ototo. Are you going to come to bed? Asked Akino as she sat on the bed. Naruto got up and nodded. He walked over to the closet and was about to grab a cover, but was stopped by Akino. Naruto turned to Akino as she threw herself into his arms. Naruto caught Akino in a hug. Akino, said Naruto. Please, Naruto Ototo, don't leave me alone tonight. I don't want you to leave hating me, said Akino. I could never hate you, Akino-chan. We may not always see eye to eye, but you are the last member of our family that I have. I'll never hate you, said Naruto with a gentle smile. Promise? Asked Akino. Cross my heart, said Naruto. Seal it with a kiss, said Akino. May our family forever live in bliss, finished Naruto. Naruto leaned down to kiss Akino on forehead, only her to move and lock lips with Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened and that gave Akino a chance to slip her tongue into Naruto's mouth and explore it. Naruto pushed back and managed to get into Akino's mouth, before his arms moved from around her arms and moved to her ass. Naruto grabbed handfuls, making Akino moan as Naruto picked her up. Akino wrapped her legs around Naruto's waist as he walked her over to the bed. The siblings broke the kiss with a thin sting of saliva connecting them. Both were panting hard. That was my first real kiss, said Akino with a small smile. Naruto looked away from his older sister. Sorry about that, Akino, I don't know what came over me. If I hadn't known you were saving your first kiss. Akino chuckled as she put a finger to his lips. It's fine, Ototo. Well, I have an idea, especially if what I'm feeling is any indication, said Akino as she raised a hand and placed it on his face. You know I can't take you, Akino. Not now at least, said Naruto. Akino chuckled and kissed Naruto lightly on the lips. If you did it so easily I'd be disappointed no matter how good it would feel, said Akino. Besides, I plan to keep you to your promise. Promise? Asked Naruto. Akino smiled. Nothing. Let's get some sleep, said Akino. Naruto and Akino kissed one more time before they laid down and instantly went to sleep. While it wasn't what she wanted, Akino let out a content breath as her mind drifted into the depths of slumber. Akino faded off to sleep, satisfied with Naruto's wrapping her in a protective embrace. Location: Ko Town. Place: Rias's apartment. Time: 0830. Mio awoke in the guest room of Rias's condo and yawned. She looked out the window and saw that the sun wasn't too high, so it was probably around 8 or 9. Getting up, she opened the door and walked out to go to the kitchen. She couldn't feel Rias's presence in the apartment. That told her that she was most likely dealing with that human. Mio went to the fridge and started to gather food for a quick breakfast of bacon and eggs. As she cooked, her thoughts went back to last night. Devil politics were almost as bad as human politics and needlessly complicated. No, it was worse. Because of the way the Satan and Devil Council operated. It was strange. While the Satans ruled the Devil section of the underworld, the Council had a considerable amount of leverage to keep the four great Mao in check. It didn't help matters that the great King Baal had such considerable political and natural power that the Baal clan wasn't even part of the Devil Council, but could influence either the Satans or the Council into almost any way they wanted. Honestly, it was just a headache. When it came to inter-clan politics, that was a bit cleaner. You had the head of the clan representative to the Devil Council, the clan council, the heiress/heir to the clan, the actual clan members, the 26 legions that swore alliance to the Gremry, and finally their servants. Since Mio's own father, Wilbert, was the younger brother to Rias's own father, her father should technically be the heir apparent should anything happen to Duke Xioticus. But that wasn't the case, as they were only half-brothers since their father had a second wife not of the Gremry clan at the time, and came from the extinct Rain clan. That didn't matter when it came to the fact that when it came to battle prowess and skills in combat, Wilbert showed his skill with gravity magic, and with the births of Mio and Maria it looked like gravity magic would be integrated into the clan magic soon. The same could be said for the power of destruction that Surzex, Rias and Milikas. Things only got more complicated from there. Since Rias and Milikas were from the main family of the Gremry, they were heiress primary and heir secondary. Mio was an heiress candidate, and could challenge Rias for the title or heiress primary. While she could challenge Milikas for his position, he was just a child at the moment, and wouldn't even consider the title for a few more years to come. No, the title for heiress was one day going to be a fight between Rias and Mio. When it came to raw magical power, Mio and Rias were about evenly matched. Political and strategic knowledge was in Rias's favor. Of course, it would be considering who her brother was. When it came to their peerages, Mio was confident that her group was much stronger than Rias's own. Even if Rias had access to her sealed bishop, he wouldn't make a lick of difference. Naruto alone could beat Kiba and Kaneko in a 2v1, Akino in a 1v1, and probably Rias if he really wanted to. The tipping factor was the prize at the end of the day. The contract. Sometime before Rias and Mio came into the world, the Phoenix and Gremry clans thought that it would be a good idea to merge the power of destruction and the power to seek treasure to the immortal flames. However, this plan was thrown for a loop when Mio exhibited the ability to manipulate gravity. 1. That got the two clans talking about what would be more beneficial to the Devil Society at large. The debate was a MOT point as the contract clearly stated that the heir/heiress primary was to marry the youngest child of the opposite gender of the main Phoenix line. That meant that it would have to the youngest Phoenix male, or the young female. Of course, they tried to renegotiate the contract to where both would marry, basically Riser becoming Gremry and the second son would help revive the Rame line and territories. Needless to say, Wilbert shut that down pretty quickly. While Mio was sure she could not only convince the council and Duke Gremry that she was a better heiress, she didn't want to deal that was Riser Phoenix and his harem of shameless sluts. Sure, it was the pot calling the kettle black considering her own relationship and position to her queen, but she knew that Riser had a habit of trading his girls when he grew tired of them, before breaking them. His two longest consistent pieces were his queen, Eubelina from a pure-blood clan with a high affinity for explosive magic, and a former member from the Phoenix's 20 legions. She was a rook if she remembered correctly. While she could possibly beat Riser in a raiding game, she didn't want to risk it on the off chance he was able to pull some bullshit out his ass. She also wasn't willing to subject her friends and peerage to that man's lusts and desires. No. Mio was content to wait until the outcome of said battle. She was 100% sure that it would come to blows before Rias accepted it. Once Riser married Rias, the marriage contract was filled and she would be free to swoop in and take the throne for herself, as it were. All she had to do was sit and wait. Mio finished her breakfast and washed out her dishes. Once finished, she walked over to Rias's closest and chose some clothes. Thanks to them being the same size, it was pretty easy to find a pair of blue jean booty shorts and a yellow tank that was a match for her favorites at home. Mio went to sit on the couch as two circles appeared in the room. In the first circle was Naruto and Akino, and in the second was Rias and Issei. "Rias, why did you bring that human here?" asked Mio. "Issei, please show them," said Rias as she appeared in the room. Issei nodded as he made two pairs of wings appear on his back. Naruto looked at Issei with a glare. "What the hell, dumbass? You just made a deal with the freaking devil man," Naruto yelled in his mind. Rias smiled at Naruto. "I explained to him the benefits of being a devil. The extended lifespan and the fact that devils are allowed to have harems," said Rias. "That's right. Now I'm going to bang all the chicks I want from school," laughed Issei. Akino laughed. My. Isn't my new Kohai full of energy?" teased Akino. "This isn't a coincidence that Akino and Naruto are here, is it?" asked Mio. Rias nodded. "Naruto, I'm using one of my favors," said Rias. Naruto let out a whistle. "Damn, you work fast," said Naruto. Rias went on, ignoring Naruto's comment. "I want you to force Issei's sacred gear to the surface. It shouldn't take more than a simple shock to jolt it awake," said the heiress of Gremry. "I was sure that you were going to save your favors for something more dire," said Naruto. Rias glared at Naruto. "I'll handle that problem with my own power," said Rias. Naruto snorted. "Sure," said Naruto as he walked up to Issei. "Hey man, I never got your name," said Issei, putting out his left hand. "I'm Hayate Issei. Pawn to Rias Gremry." Naruto looked at Issei's hand. "It's Naruto. I'm the younger brother of Akino and the queen of Mio Gremry," said Naruto, taking the hand. "Queen, huh? That's not every manly," said Issei. "It's okay. Nithers this," said Naruto as he sent lightning thought his hand and into Issei's body. Issei screamed in pain as Naruto shocked him. He tried to release the grip, but Naruto's hand was like a steel vice, refusing to let go. It didn't help that the pain brought Issei to his knees in seconds. It was probably 100 times more painful than anything Issei ever felt. Rias looked on in slight disappointment. If this level of power was anything to go by, Issei would need to be trained a lot before he was of any use to her. It took a minute or two before a thick red gauntlet appeared on Issei's hand. By the time it did, Naruto released Issei's hand and the boy-turned-devil fell to the ground out cold. Akino walked up and poked Issei. She let out a small laugh. "Impressive, Ototo. You knocked him out cold," said Akino, smirking at Naruto. Rias cursed. "I was sure that his gear was stronger than a twice critical," said Rias. "It is. It's been a long time, Drake," said Hilda, making a silver gauntlet along with the glowing green gem appear on Naruto's arm. "Hilda?" asked Naruto. "Brynhilde. The last time I saw you was during the Roman era. Also that stung a bit," said Drake. The girls all froze seeing this. Hayate Issei, and below average male at best, a super pervert with an obsession with the likes that no one had seen in years, had a Longinus class gear. Not just any Longinus, but the boosted gear. This meant that Issei was the Red Dragon Emperor of this generation. Anytime a dragon emperor appeared, they went on to become pillars of strength within their respective lifespans. Alexander the Great had been the red dragon of his time. Leonidas, the king of the Spartans, had been a red dragon emperor, and so many others, but like many who held the title of red dragon emperor, their time usually ended up being quite short once the gear appeared. It was established that they had as much as 1 to 100 years to live. The fact that Rias had managed to get the red dragon emperor with only 6 pawns was a blessing as well as a cruise. 2. Hilda began to laugh. Unbelievable. You really do have the worst luck ever. Getting reborn into such a weakling. And not just any weakling, but a pervert at that, laughed Hilda. Laugh it up, Hilda. I seem to recall that you preferred the company of your sisters to those of men, said Drake with a snort. Hilda stopped laughing, and if the 2 gears had bodies, Naruto was sure that she would be glaring at the red dragon. Enough, both of you. Red Dragon, I reincarnated your host as my newest servant. That in turn makes me the master to both of you, said Rias. Rias, started Mio. A flare of power rocked the entire room. Mio, Akino, and Rias all went to their knees, while Naruto was only able to remain standing because he had his own gear out, but even he felt the power of the dragon. Let's get one thing straight, Gremory. I am not your servant, and while the perverted kid may be my host, know that should you harm my partner in any way before our destined fight with the White Dragon Emperor, then I will do everything in my power to kill you, said Drake with all the malice he could muster. Okay, Naruto liked this guy. Hey Red Dragon, can you stop that? You're hurting them with your power, said Naruto. The pressure let up as the gauntlet vanished from Issei's hand. This allowed the girls to get up. Rias took a seat at the bar before summoning a glass of wine and a bottle, before taking a sip of the delicate and sweet alcohol. Akino and Mio took their own glasses and took sips of the wine. Naruto grabbed Issei by his collar, before throwing him onto the couch. That was amazing, said Mio. So what's going to happen now? Asked Akino. Well, I'll have to let Issei know about the boosted gear. That way I can, started Rias. You will do no such thing, said Naruto. What do you mean? Asked Rias. Naruto turned to her. It's bad enough that you had me awake in Ascension class gear, which can be dangerous by itself, but because it's a Longinus, Issei's body can't handle that level of power right off the back. No. It has to naturally evolve to where Drake will reveal himself to Issei, said Naruto. Naruto-kun has a point, Rias. As it is, Issei doesn't even have the power to keep it active for more than a few minutes at best, said Mio, crossing her hands under her. That show of force was all Drake managed to use, before he had to go and rest. I say it will be about 2 or 3 weeks before he appears again. And even then he won't reveal himself to Issei until he gets over his initial level of power. Considering Issei isn't even an F class, he has a long way to go, said Naruto. F class? Asked Akino. Naruto-kun created a class ranking system that shows the overall threat level to someone. He calls it his bingo book, said Mio. Interesting. Where would you rank me? Asked Rias. Naruto looked at her. I'd rather not say. It would damage your fragile ego, said Naruto. Excuse me. I'll have you know I don't have a fragile ego, said Rias. Naruto summoned a book and opened a specific page. Alright, just remember I gave you an out, said Naruto before handing it to Rias. Rice looked at the book and was shocked at how detailed it was. Her height, her weight, but it was her states that caught her interest. Strength 3 out of 10. Speed 4 out of 10. Magic 6 out of 10. Combat 4 out of 10. Technique 4 out of 10. Intelligence 8 out of 10. While normally Rias wouldn't be considered a dangerous opponent, her intellect along with her familial magic, power of destruction, makes her a formidable opponent. However, due to her lack of speed and mostly relying on her familial power, as well as neglecting her physical training, Rias isn't as dangerous as she could be. Another weakness she has is over-reliance on her strategies, not realizing that everyone has a plan until the first punch is thrown. Final ranking, high, low, D. Rias looked at the book and then back at Naruto. If she was ranked this low, then. Oh, don't get it confused, Rias, said Naruto as if cutting off her thoughts. All the big names in the supernatural world as well as those I personally know are in that book. Even your cousin Sarord is in that book, but he's ranked much higher than you. He's at least a B-class threat in my books. I'm not even sure if I went full out would I be able to beat him. Rias handed the book back to Naruto. She bit her lip, stopping herself from asking what she would need to do to get stronger, but her pride stopped her from asking. In that moment she realized that Naruto had her pegged. If you'll excuse us, Eris Gremry, my queen, and I have been away from my territory long enough. We must get back, said Mio, giving a small bow to Rias, as did Naruto. Rias looked at her cousin and nodded. Right then. Safe travels then, said Rias. As Naruto and Mio left the apartment, Naruto cast one last glance at Akino. He opened his mouth to speak, but shook his head. Location: human world. Place: unknown. Time: unknown. The master of the castle sat back, swirling his glass of wine as he looked at his prize. Abducting her on her way from America and back to the Gremry territory had been a risk, but one he had accepted without worry. His prize was actually the favorite concubine of Wilbert Gremry. A petite, beautiful woman with long silver hair and purple eyes, purple horns, and pointy ears. She wore a white lacy dress, a choker, and 2 black ribbons in her hair. His prize glared at him with pure hate in her eyes. When Wilbert finds out that you have taken me hostage, he will destroy you and the entire Demon Lord faction for this transgression, said Sheila. Her capturer laughed. My dear, by the time Wilbert can even get away from the council, it will be too late to stop me. Until such a time as I can move forward, I will have my people entertain you girls, said the madman. 4 shadows appeared in the chamber, all kneeled before him. We won't fail you, Lord Zalgier, said the leader of the trio. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: the neighborhood which Mio and the others live in. Time: 1400. Yuki and Kurumi walked down the street on their way back home. Zest had asked them to pick up some stuff for dinner for a grand feast for Mio and Naruto's return. Yuki wore a maroon blazer, pink shirt that showed off her tight-toned stomach, a tan skirt with a white belt, and a pair of heeled boots. Kurumi wore a sleeveless light blue hoodie, the actual hood and pocket being white, black spandex shorts, and white shoes. Both girls held a bag of groceries in their hands as they walked through the neighborhood back to the house. Sure, they could have just teleported, but it was nice and sunny and they wanted to spend some time with each other. I can't wait for Naruto-sama to return, said Yuki, thinking of the things she would do with him. Maybe try that new position that she read about online. Kurumi took a bite out of her cinnamon roll and looked at her sister. You're only saying that because you want to do perverted things with Naruto, said Kurumi. What's wrong with that? I am Naruto-sama's lover, just as Maria and Zest. Before long both you and Naruse will be his lovers as well, said the bleuette. Kurumi snored. Yeah, right. I'm not looking forward to getting knocked up right now, thank you but no thanks, anal slut, said Kurumi with no real bite to her words. Yuki looked at her sister as she took a bite of her roll again. Before she could chew on it, Yuki swooped in and kissed Kurumi. Kurumi blushed. Before she could do anything, Yuki forced her mouth open and used her tongue to scoop the piece out and eat it herself. Kurumi looked at her sister with a heavy blush. Hentai! Yelled Kurumi. 1. Yuki smiled at her sister. Thanks for the meal and the compliment, said Yuki. Slow clapping stopped the duo, making them turn around. Standing there was a man. He wasn't very tall. Probably as tall as Yuki, short green hair that was in a box up, a pink shirt, blue jean pants, and a gold chain. Such emotion between sisters. It's enough to break one's heart, said the man. Kurumi and Yuki stopped joking and realized that the street was empty. A barrier? Yuki dropped her bag and summoned her katana, Sakuya, while Kurumi summoned her own gauntlet. How did he set one up without us noticing? Kurumi thought to herself, as she gathered energy to her left arm. The man held up his hands. Whoa. This isn't the time to fight. I'm currently here to deliver a massage, said the man. A message? Asked Yuki, not dropping her guard. A message from who? Why, from my master. He has forbidden me from saying his name, until you've seen what is inside for yourself, said the demon. The man pulled out an envelope that was about as large as a sheet of paper, but was a tad thicker. He set it on the ground and backed up. Kurumi walked forward and picked it up. Opening it, her eyes widened in shock. She looked at the man with a fire burning up inside of her as the ground under her bruised as she unleashed a blast of wind. Where are you keeping her? Asked Kurumi, summoning a gauntlet that helped her manipulate wind. 2. The man smirked. That would be telling, wouldn't it, Bambino, said the man. Kurumi had enough of this and aimed her left hand at him. Air cannon! Yelled Kurumi, firing off a ball of compressed air. The man looked at the attack, before taking a classical boxing stance and throw out a punch. The punch unleashed a blast of compressed air that collided with the air cannon. The two winds hit each other, before exploding in a tornado. As the winds died down, the man raised his forearms and blocked Yuki as she slashed at his arms. A spark appeared on his forearms. Yuki's eyes widened, before she jumped backwards and put her hands on her sword. Why didn't you cut him to ribbons? Asked Kurumi. His arms they are hard, said Yuki. Who are you? Asked Kurumi. The man chuckled as he made a show of crossing her left arm over his chest, while throwing his right arm out and bowing. I'm a demon mercenary. I'm an orc and my name is simply Damien. I am a simple messenger, and now that my message has been delivered I must part. Oh, and if we should cross paths again under different circumstances I will kill you both without fail, said Damien as he jumped backwards to vanish. Yuki looked at her sister as they both released control of their weapons. What was in the envelope? Asked Yuki. Whoever he's working for they have Shilia-san hostage, said Kurumi as she looked at the picture on the ground. A picture of Shilia in a cell. Location, Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place, Naru's Manor. Time, 1530. Damn it! Yelled Mio as she kicked the table several times, before she broke it with her abnormal strength. Mio, calm down, said Naruto. Mio turned to Naruto with a glare. How can I calm down when someone has kidnapped Shilia-san? Yelled Mio. Maria wasn't doing so hot either, as she was shaking in rage. Kurumi was by her side whispering to her to try and keep her calm. The letter and photos were put out that Mio was to present herself as well as her peerage to the location that was specified in the letter within a day or Shilia would be killed. Slowly. For a succubus to die slowly was to starve them of intimacy. While succubus get the majority of their energy from raw sex, they could still feed off of things like hugs, kisses, from dreams, and the like. Sex was just how they got the majority of their energy. Succubi were the literal attention whores. Whoever kidnapped her opened themselves up to an assault from not only the legions of Gremory, but also the succubi queen herself, stated Maria. Ka-sen has a high enough rank of arch to where an attack on her is an attack on all succubi. But we need to act fast or we won't be able to save her. 3. You girls get a message to Wilbert-sama. Tell him that Shilia-sama is currently in danger, and we're going to handle it, said Naruto as he made his way to front door. Where are you going? Asked Mio. I have to go and get some information from one of our sources. Naruto pulled out his phone and sent a quick message. 4 simple words. We need to talk. Location, Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place, Park. Time, 1800. Naruto sat on a park bench as he awaited Lars. He had been waiting about 10 minutes now and was starting to get seriously pissed off. When Lars gets here I'm going to kill him, thought Naruto. Naruto jumped up and out of the way as the bench he was on was obliterated by a punch from a large troll. Naruto snorted as he looked at the monster before him. He was easily over 10 foot tall. A pretty small troll, dark red skin, a simple cloth to protect his modesty, and long white hair. Naruto held out his hand and unleashed a lightning javelin. The attack struck true. The troll yelled in pain, but was still standing even if he staggered a bit. Naruto summoned Banishing Shift as he got a better look at the troll. The troll touched his chest where the attack hit. He was wounded, but nothing fatal. Trolls like the Orge cousins had notoriously hard skin and were quite resistant to most elemental magics. Naruto prepared to slash the troll into oblivion, but stopped as wires nearly wrapped completely around his neck and pulled him into a tree. Naruto began to choke with the only thing keeping his alive was his now bloody hand. Well, it seems that Lars was correct and that a little devil was out here all alone, came a voice from the trees. Naruto managed to lift his eyes and looked at a demon shinobi dressed in all black with only his red eyes visible. Naruto swung his sword and severed the wires. Landing on his feet, Naruto coughed a bit as he managed to get his bearing. Demon Mercenary, Kage, and Demon Mercenary, Grog. Although you won't live long enough to remember our names, said the demon shinobi. Please, said Naruto standing. You F-class rejects barely got the drop on me. And as it were I could still kick your asses 8 ways to Sunday with an extra serving of foot. Kage held up his hand with his tiger claws and charged at Naruto as Grog ran behind him. Naruto snorted. Naruto blocked the attack. Naruto raised his left hand making a hand signs. Kage's eyes widened seeing this. How did he know the secret shadow arts? It's impossible you can't know demon ninja arts, yelled Kage. Naruto smirked. You're not the only one with shinobi skills, pal. Shadow clone jutsu, said Naruto. A figure appeared behind Kage with a hand full of lighting but jumped at Gorg. He gripped Grog by the head. Iron Lightning Claw, yelled the clone, and he increased his grip power and crushed Grog's head while obliterating his brain with the lighting. Kage glared at Naruto. While there was no love lost between himself and Grog, he was a comrade and Naruto would pay for his transgressions. Disengaging from the fight, Kage went to create more wires. Before Kage could finish creating the wires, the clone appeared behind him and gripped him in full Nelson. Sending lightning to his blade, Naruto gripped it with both hands. "Disappear from my sight, trash! Fox Hunter!" yelled Naruto, unleashed a lightning fox that had traces of void magic in it. The apparition and manifestation of Naruto's attack ripped through Kage, leaving not a trace of him behind. Naruto allowed banishing shift to vanish as he looked at his cut-up hand, before he felt his neck. He had small wounds, but nothing too bad. "Had I known that you would dispatch them so easily, I wouldn't have given them the information I did," said Lars, appearing. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have wasted my time," said Naruto, looking at Lars. Lars removed his mask and smirked at Naruto. "Sorry, Himejima, but I needed to make sure to cover my tracks." "Zalgir was keeping an eye on me," said Lars. "So these demon mercs. I assumed he hired a few of them." "Not quite. The ones who work for him are fanatics of his style of rule. You see, the Demon Lord faction don't think we should be confined to the underworld, even though the Satans and modern demon faction have managed to replicate the human world quite nicely. In their eyes, we should rule the humans, taking what we want, eating them, and all that old school stuff." "What do I have to worry about?" asked Naruto. "Honestly, nothing much. Those two were quite weak. I believe you called them F-class rejects. No, the other two are more powerful than them. Close to our own levels. Damien, an orc that has quite strong defensive magic, and then Bella the Viper. I haven't seen her fight, but from my understanding she's never lost a battle before and has a quite potent venom that kills quickly upon injection," said Lars. Naruto put a hand on his chin at this. "So 2 more Mokes and Zalgir himself. Zalgir's at least a mid-B class threat. If I got Wilbert-sama involved along with the legions, no, that's not an option," said Naruto, dismissing the thought. "Why not?" asked Lars, looking at his friend/rival. "Clearly, if you're considering it, then it is." Naruto shook his head. "It's not that simple. Shiliya-sama isn't a devil. In fact, she's only married to Wilbert-sama in the eyes of the Sukubai nation. To the greater devil community, she's nothing but a plaything to him. Ever since the death of Ash-sama, Shiliya-sama has acted as Mio's mother and Wilbert's wife. In fact, I can't recall him ever having another woman on his arm besides Shiliya-sama. The Devil Council will use this as ammunition to have the Gremry Elders and Council remove him from his position as clan repetitiveness. No, we have to handle this at our level," said Naruto. Lars scoffed at this. "Politics always complicate a good bloodbath," said Lars as he vanished. Location: Gremry territory. Place: Gremry Castle, Wilbert's office. Time: late evening 3. The office in the western section of Gremry Castle was dominated by bookshelves, books, and other such things. In the northern corner of the room was a fireplace that was currently roaring. Above the fireplace was a picture of 3 women. An artwork he had commissioned for this room. By the fireplace were a set of Victorian recliners with a small table in between them, as well as a tea table on either side of them. The large desk that sat Kata corner had a modern computer and 3 pictures. One was of Mio and the other was of Maria. The final picture was of himself, Shiliya, Lucia, Mio, and Maria when they were all younger. As strange as the picture was due to the fact that Lucia was taller than her mother, and most people would think she was the mother, they were happy. The man currently sitting behind the desk was the younger brother of Zeodius Wilbert Gremry, veteran of both the 3 factions' war and the Devil's Civil War. A well-built man with red hair and matching colored eyes and tattoos that appears to be on a portion of his face. While he didn't show it, Wilbert was very worried about his wife. Even as he worked on the paperwork for the upcoming council meeting and reports to the elders. The meeting Morrigan had called was only supposed to last a week. Now here they were going on 2 weeks and she was messing. Worse yet, his adopted daughter Lucia was currently in the hospital after being attacked. Whoever attacked them had to be quite strong, as both Shiliya and Lucia could use space-dimensional type magic. His worry for his wife never left his mind. Wilbert paused as he looked up. Standing in the doorway was his elder brother, Zeodicus. Zeodicus has the appearance of a middle-aged, handsome-looking man with long crimson-red hair that is tied in a loose ponytail with a black hairband. He has bright blue eyes just like his 2 children, Serzex and Rias Gremry. He also has a short and red beard or stubble. He wore a white suit over a black shirt, and black shoes. In his hands was the Devil's Brew, one of the strongest drinks known to devil kind. "Zeo," said Wilbert, a bit surprised to see his brother. Zeodicus smiled and held up the bottle and summoned 2 glasses. "Care for a drink, Will?" "I know you need one after what's been happening," said Zeodicus. Wilbert took a cup as his brother took a seat. What Zeoticus was referring to was the fact that the elders and Gremry Council had forbidden him from releasing the 5 legions he had control of to search for Shalia. Had she been a devil they would have allowed it, but as she was just a succubus and his bed warmer they didn't see the point. Zeoticus knew that his brother had only ever loved 2 women in his entire life. Ash and now Shalia. When Ash had died shortly after the birth of Mio it had nearly broken him. He had found comfort and even love in Shalia. Shalia had even claimed that Wilbert was her destined one. Zeoticus loved his little brother and threw his full support behind him, but even he as the head of the House of Gremry couldn't overrule both the council and the elders. The only way that would happen is their father took his side, but their father was quite the difficult man to get a hold of. I'm worried about Shalia, brother. And the council's words, said Wilbert. I understand, brother, and I'm already making an appeal to the council and even calling Surzex to see if he can help, said Zeoticus. You know Surzex can get involved. He'd face great backlash if he did, said Wilbert. Then it's a good thing I'm not asking him to get involved and only come to a nice dinner with the head of the council and elders, said Zeoticus with a smile. Wilbert smiled. Thank you, brother. Just as the men polished off their glasses and circle appeared between them. Out of the circle came a little rabbit with horns. Mio's familiar. Chabby, a horned demon rabbit. Is that little Mio's familiar? Asked Zeoticus. Yes. I didn't think that she would send me a letter. It must be something awful if she did, said Wilbert Chabby. In his mouth was a letter. Wilbert took the letter and opened it. As he read it, his control over his energy exploded. Zeoticus got up and out of the chair. Well, what it is? Asked Zeoticus. Brother, forgive me, but you have 13 hours to get the council to agree to allowing me to go and save my wife and children, or I will challenge for leadership and do things my way. And we both know what my way is. The man gravity bows to, said Wilbert, taking the bottle and draining it before breaking it on the ground, and he left the room. Zeo looked at where the letter was and picked it up. Father, I know this letter won't find you in good health, as Shalia Kasama has been missing for a week now. Had I known beforehand, I would have done everything in my power to help you. It is with a heavy heart that I inform you that she has been taken by someone claiming to be from the demon faction. We have a location and are to meet her captors in 12 hours to exchange myself for her. I know this isn't something you would want us trading our lives for each other, but for Maria and Shalia Kasama I would do just that. Please don't worry. We will handle things. Love, Mio. P.S. Maria says that she loves you. Zeo cursed as he rushed out the room. If the council didn't agree after this, then the Gremry territory would likely explode in civil war. Location: Tokyo, Shijuku District. Place: Naru's Manor. Time: 1200. Mio sighed as she and the others appeared in the park ready for whatever was to come. Naruto stood next to her with his blade ready. Zest and Maria were also ready for a fight, but in full combat form at the moment. They nodded to each other. Right, remember the plan. Everyone be safe and return home safely, said Mio. We can't mess this up, we can't. Naruto placed a hand on Mio's shoulder, making her look at him. Don't worry, Mio-sama, Maria-chan will save Shalia. And we'll all come home together, said Naruto. Hi, Mio-sama, everyone said. This wasn't the time for joking. Mio looked at her friends, her family, and smiled. She took the magic circle and pushed some of her power into it, throwing it onto the ground. Purple light enveloped them as they were transported away. Once the light died away, the group prepared for an ambush, an attack, or even a trap. But that wasn't the case. The group quickly realized that they were in what could only amount to a large ballroom, as at least 100 people waltzed across the floor, all masked and in various styles of dress. The pair that caught their attention, however, were in the center of the room. One they quickly realized was Shalia in a Victorian evening gown. She was holding onto a man's arm. The man was quite tall, easily 7 feet if not slightly taller, bald head on the top with white hair around the edge that reached his shoulders, with a matching beard, pointy ears, purple eyes, wearing a demon lord's robe. Kaa-chan! Yelled Maria, looking at her mother with fear in her eyes. Shalia's eyes widened as she turned and looked at their group. Maria-chan, and Mio-chan, get out of here! Yelled Shalia, only for the man to grip her tightly around the neck. Before they could register what was happening, everyone stopped and looked at them. I'm so glad that Wilbert-san's eldest child and member of the Gremry clan could attend this party commemorating the destruction of the old Demon Lord faction and the start of a new Demon Lord faction. With Izalgir as your humble host, said the man that held Shalia. Shalia struggled in his grasp. Girls, run away. Forget about me. Release her, yelled Mio as she flared her demonic aura. Now why would I do that? Asked Zalgier, gripping Shalia's face, before licking it. With Shalia-san's special magic, and the power of Wilbert's child, I will have enough power to take over the Demon Lord faction. You're one confusing, you know that? Asked Kurumi. Zalgier looked at her in interest. Oh, how so? Asked the old demon. Kidnapping the lover of Wilbert Gremory and then demanding that his child turn herself over to you. You must have lost your mind. As if the Duke Gremory and his little brother wouldn't mobilize its legions against you, said Yuki. The old demon let out a huff. It won't matter once I have already set things in place to destroy the old Demon Lord faction and create my own faction. I already have several partners lined up to work with me to bring about our vision of all worlds. It will be glorious. You're delusional, hissed Mio as her eyes flashed with power. Call it what you want, but I will do what I must to secure our rightful places on top of the food chain, said Zalgier. Naruto summoned Banishing Shift and vanished in a blur of speed. He appeared right in front of Zalgier and slashed at him. Zalgier looked at the blade that neared his neck as it clashed with the barrier. Naruto cursed as a figure appeared on his right with a smirk on his face. Iron jab! Yelled Damien. Naruto managed to cross his arms as he was sent flying into the wall. Naruto was indented in the wall. Naruto gritted his teeth, but sensed something coming at him. He managed to look up and see a woman flying at him. Naruto cursed he wouldn't be able to move in time. Yuki appeared before Naruto and slashed as the woman blocking her claws with Sakuya. Yuki kicked her away, leaving her suspended in the air. Air cannon! Yelled Kurumi, unleashing her attack. The woman was hit and fell to the ground, but landed on her feet. Once Naruto pulled himself free, he managed to get a good look at the woman. She looked like a regular woman, but her skin was a dark red, her eyes were pure black, with long sharp claws. She wore a Chinese dress and low quarter heels. Have fun with my mercenaries. And if you manage to get past them, find me in the pits of hell, laughed Zalgier as he opened a portal and vanished. Oddly enough, he left the portal intact. You must be Bella the Viper, said Naruto with a glare. The now known Bella laughed. I see my reputation precedes me, said Bella. Not really, but that's neither here nor there, said Naruto as he jumped into the air. Maria was behind him as she charged with a yelled. Gravity punch! Yelled Maria. Bella didn't have time to counter and was sent crashing out a window. Zest and Yuki followed after her, intending to kill the bitch before she could pose a threat. Naruto-sama, Mio-sama, go after him. We'll handle things here and follow you soon, said Kurumi. Naruto and Mio nodded as they ran into the portal. Maria turned around and looked at the man who had first attacked her lover. Raising her fists, she allowed them to glow purple. This was a combination her ability to manipulate gravity and her mother's own space magic. The only downside was that Maria couldn't really use ranged attacks and instead was more suited to close-range combat. Which is where Kurumi came in. So I get the two bambinas. Too bad neither of you is my type, said Damien, ripping off his shirt as he took a stance as his skin turned into iron. Maria charged at Damien and began to throw a flurry of punches into the man. Damien felt them all. It was only thanks to his iron skin ability that he was able to withstand her barrage, before he sent a kick into her stomach that sent her flying away. Kurumi raised her hand and fired off a blast of water. It impacted his back and barely staggered him. Damien turned around and smirked at Kurumi. He vanished and appeared in the air. Iron press! Yelled Damien as he began a free fall. Kurumi didn't have time to surround herself in a full barrier, before she was driven into the ground with several cuts and bruises. She tried to get up, but throw up blood. Damien grabbed her by her collar and looked her in the eye. You know, Bambino, I thought you'd be more challenging, said Damien. Let her go. Gravity kick! Yelled Maria, punching Damien in the face, forcing him to release Kurumi. Damien crashed into the wall, and several of the guests who were standing around. Maria managed to catch her friend and set her on the ground. As they landed, Maria clutched her leg in pain. While her gravity kick had a fair amount of power behind it, Damien's iron skin was just too hard. Gravity magic made her hit stronger, but it didn't increase her defenses any. It was only thanks to the high defensive power of a rook that her leg wasn't broken right now. Maria, he's too strong for us to win this fight normally, said Kurumi. Tell me what you're thinking. Kurumi looked at her friend. The gravity-dense water bullet that we have been working on, said Kurumi. Maria frowned. We haven't perfected it yet. And if you miss, we're as good as dead. No choice, besides I have a target, said Kurumi, as she gathered water into a ball at the tip of her finger and began to compress it as much as possible. After a few seconds it was as small as a marble. Maria cursed and focused her energy into Maria's gauntlet. It was going to take a few seconds to charge. As the energy charged, Kurumi began to focus on keeping the bullet together. The dense water bullet was her most powerful attack, but she needed the help of her familiar Soryuki to increase the power of the attack. Damien pushed his way out of the rubble and held his side. He spat out a glob of blood before smirking. Maria looked at the man and Kurumi. "Now!" yelled Kurumi, aiming. "Gravity well!" yelled Maria. Damien stopped in place, as the gravity around him became dense. "Eat this! Gravity-dense water bullet!" yelled Kurumi, imaging a trigger of a gun and pulling the trigger. The bullet flew straight and tore into Damien's side. Damien yelled in pain as the bullet ripped through his iron skin and destroyed reveal organs. Damien fell to his knees, before falling over dead. "Naruto-sama and Mio-sama are going to have to manage on their own for a bit. I have to heal my leg," said Maria. "Yeah?" asked Kurumi, said Kurumi, panting. "I'm currently low on mana. They'll have to do it until we can be of use to them." Location: outside of Zalgir's castle. Place: Zalgir's castle grounds. Time: seconds after Bella was thrown out of the window. Bella flipped and landed in a couch as Zest and Yuki unfolded their wings, floating in the air. Zest released her control and fell to the ground with her fist raised. "Fisher!" yelled Zest, hitting the ground. From the location of her fist, tearing apart the ground and kicking up rocks as the opening speed towards Bella. Bella flipped to the side and raised her claws as Yuki used her night speed to appear next to her and slash at her. Bella opened her mouth and unleashed a spray of acid. Yuki managed to move out of the way in time, but was slashed across the stomach by Bella. Thanks to her armor, it didn't hurt, but the claws ripped right through the armor and almost destroyed the mesh under armor she wore. Zest looked at her friend and slammed her hands on the ground. "Trap hole!" yelled Zest. The ground under Bella broke apart, but she again jumped backwards, only for Yuki to attack her again. This pattern continued for several moments, with either side gaining an advantage. Yuki was getting irritated. "Zest, do you think you can hold her down for a minute?" asked Yuki. "I'll do you one better," said the rabbit demon. Zest's eyes flashed for a moment, as she raised several pillars into the sky, shifting the battlefield. Moving her hands, she began to make spikes in the pillars, forcing Bella from one pillar to the other. At the same time, Yuki was taking pop slashes at Bella. It took only a few minutes before Bella was out of space and trapped with nowhere to go. Yuki sheathed her Sakuya. "Quick draw style, 1,000 cuts!" yelled Yuki, unsheathing her sword and swinging it, unleashing a tornado. Bella took the attack full force, cutting into her, making her scream in pain. Once she was on the ground, Zest opened the earth, before crushing Bella to death. "That took too much time," said Yuki. "Let's get to Maria and Kurumi-chan. They might need our help," said Zest. The duo unfolded their wings and flew back into the castle. Location: Zalgir's castle. Place: basement laboratory. Time: moments after he opened the portal. Zalgir stood before a panel as he prepared for the arrival of Naruto and Mio. Shalia was laying on a table, currently out cold after he zapped her. The two he was sure would come. He picked up a vial of demon-boosting medicine that he had been developing for his associates. It was the game changer that he had been waiting on. "I hope you weren't planning on going against the contract that you have with us, Zalgir-sama," said a voice. Zalgir froze hearing that voice. He turned and looked at the figure in the shadows. The only thing that Zalgir could see was an olive-green trench coat with a green tank top underneath, dark gray pants with a black belt on his waist, and black shoes. This was the boss of the demon mercenaries. Compared to those four weaklings, this man was the real deal. Even Zalgir knew better than to test the man before him. "What are you of all people doing here?" asked Zalgir. "I thought you were on assignment in the human words." "You can relax, I'm only here to see the results, and then report back to the organization," said the figure. "As for my assignment, I finished it early." Zalgir's eyes widened. "So does that mean that Mr. Sawdash," started Zalgir, only to be stopped as something sped past his, fact cutting it. "You are not allowed to speak his name nor any of the others' names of our illustrious organization," said the man. Zalgir took a step back. "You can't kill me. Not unless you have a spy inside of the Demon Lord faction, or better yet, someone who had mined knowledge of ancient and forbidden rituals," said Zalgir. The man turned away from Zalgir and put his hands in his pockets. "Personally, I'm not one for all this clock and dagger stuff, but to use a chess analogy, with so many pieces on the board, it makes our movements almost a necessity. Should you survive, I'll take you to the committee, and you can explain your actions to them. If I were you, I'd be preparing my apology, said the man as he appeared to vanish. Zalgier grit his teeth in rage. Damn the committee to hell! Yelled Zalgier, kicking the table before he began to laugh. Once I have Mio's power, it won't matter. I'll have what I want and make the board bow down to me. Location: Gremry territory. Place: Gremry Castle, Chamber of the Elders. Time: evening. Wilbert walked through the halls of Gremry Castle towards the Chamber of the Elders and Council. He was dressed in full battle regalia as he planned on following through with his threat. Already he could see the guards loyal to the council eyeing him and ready to draw their weapons at a moment's notice. Admirable, but foolish. Steps away from the double doors was Zio standing there, also dressed in full battle regalia. He pushed off the wall and stood before his little brother. Don't try to stop me, brother. We both know that if this comes to blows I'll win, said Wilbert. Zio rubbed his head. I know that, but as you know the Gremry are quite greedy. And while I understand your desire to go and get your wife, I won't allow you to tear our clan apart because of your greed, said Zio. Wilbert smiled at his brother. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then hope we can talk sense into them, brother. Zio nodded. I would hate to have to fight you, brother, said Zio. We both know the outcome of said fight already, said Wilbert, pushing the doors to the elder chambers open. Location: outskirts of Zalgier's castle. Place: forest. Time: evening. The man in the green coat walked on top of a hill where his contact was waiting for him. He stopped as a gunshot landed in the ground in front of him. He looked into the sky above him and picked up a pebble before throwing it. It struck the base of a tree, bringing it down. A figure jumped out of the tree and floated in the air. Was that really necessary? Asked the person. It was a simple greeting like that shot you fired. If I meant to kill you, I would have done so already, said the man in the olive coat. The person grinned, showing off sharpened teeth. Some greeting. So did you deliver the message to Zalgier-chan? I did. I honestly wanted to stay and look at the battle, but my boss wanted me to leave it to the devils. Besides, I have to get in touch with my team. It's been a few months since I've seen them, said the man. The figure began to laugh as they fell onto the ground. Business Sama must have you doing something important if he had you leave away from your brothers and teammates for so long. But more concerning to me is the interested in those devils, said the figure. I can't confirm or deny that, as is the code of my team. Remember that the committee keeps most of its resources from interacting with each other. As for my interest, I can't help but feel that that boy would give me a challenge in the future, said the man. I guess you're right, said the girl, putting her sniper rifle behind her back. The man didn't say a word as his cell phone rang. He pulled it out and opened it up. Yes, sir? Yes, she's here, I see. Very well, I'll tell her the choice of the committee, said the man. What is it? Asked the girl, raising a blonde eyebrow. The man turned to her. Orders from the top. For you, specificity. The girl looked at the man, before smirking at her comrade. Well then, start talking. Location: Zalgier's castle. Place: basement lab. Time: evening. Naruto and Mio came out of the portal and found Zalgier standing in the center of the room. Zalgier looked at the duo with a look at Zalgier. It annoyed Naruto a bit to see the man's smug look. Hey, here's the deal, let Shilia-sama go, and I'll only rip out one of your lungs, said Naruto. One. And if I refuse? Asked Zalgier. Naruto charged lightning to his sword and charged at Zalgier. Hold your freaking breath, yelled Naruto. Naruto spun slow and slashed at Zalgier's legs. Zalgier summoned a purple claymore-style sword. Naruto gritted his teeth in annoyance, before spinning again and slashing at Zalgier's head. Zalgier once again blocked, but Naruto jumped backwards and pushed his energy into the sword. Void slash! Yelled Naruto, unleashing a slash along the ground that ripped apart everything. Zalgier sidestepped it as he looked at Naruto. Reaching out his hand, he used kinesis to lift Naruto into the air. He threw Naruto around the room. Naruto yelled in pain. Zalgier smirked at this. How could such a weakling make such a threat to him? Fire bolt! Yelled Mio, unleashing red flames bolts that were tinted with some black at Zalgier's back. Zalgier didn't even bother to release Naruto as the bolts slammed into his barrier. Zalgier looked at Mio as several balls of fire formed around him and flew at Mio. Mio screamed as she managed to dodge a few, but was hit by two of them. Naruto glared at Zalgier and focused his mana, creating a clone above Zalgier. Didn't have the gear out, but instead had a ball of lighting in his hand. Eat this prick, Chidori! Yelled the clone as he fell at Zalgier. Zalgier raised his left hand blocking the attack, but releasing his control over Naruto. Naruto fell to the ground and rushed forward as he sent energy into his sword. Jumping, he did a spin slash and brought it to bear at Zalgier. Zalgier felt the blade hit him in the stomach as several cuts appeared along his torso and abdomen. Zalgier felt a small amount of pain, but not enough to chance how he was going to kill Naruto. Raising his hand, he unleashed a magic attack at the clone, destroying it, before he raised his sword and brought it down at Naruto. Naruto blocked that attack, and throws Zalgier's attack away, before slashing at Zalgier, who caught the sword with his free hand. Naruto smirked at this and showed a Chidori at Zalgier. Zalgier released Naruto's blade and backed away. Flaming arrows! Yelled Mio as she unleashed several dozen fire arrows at Zalgier. All the arrows hit Zalgier, staggering him slightly. He turned and glared at Mio. He went to attack, but was forced to stop as Naruto appeared before him with a hand full of lightning. "Don't forget about me, Chidori!" yelled Naruto. Zalgier caught Naruto's hand, but Naruto was counting on his. "Counter, Chidori Grenade!" yelled Naruto. The ball of lighting in Naruto's hand imploded, before it exploded outwards, releasing a wave of static electricity. Zalgier and Naruto were blown away from each other, with Naruto landing at Mio's feet, and Zalgier into his console. Naruto managed to get to his feet, but his left hand was burned from the backlash of the Chidori Grenade. It wasn't an attack he really liked to use. The electricity wasn't the problem, it was the fact that the explosive force was enough to hurt him, even when his own lightning wasn't. "That was reckless," said Hilda. "Sorry, but with how little this space is, my more damaging banishing moves would put Mio-sama and Shilia-sama in danger." "Understood, but the longer you drag this fight out, the more Zalgier will realize that you're a threat to him. You need to finish him off now," said Hilda. "Fine," said Naruto as he raised his sword in front of him and began to generate lightning. "Mio-sama, I'm going to need you to hold him off for a minute while I charge this." Mio nodded as she got in front of Naruto and charged at Zalgier with flames in one hand and lighting in the other, both encased in thin shells of gravity. Mio by default was classed as a mage-type fighter. That meant that she realized more on her magic than she did on close-range fighting. That was her advantage as well as disadvantage. If she ever chose to fight close range, she would be destroyed, but she could get in one good attack before it happened. Zalgier smirked at Mio, thinking that this was her last attempt at an attack. He raised her hand and fired off a simple, but very powerful fireball. Mio cursed as the ball headed towards her at an accelerated rate of speed. Mio wouldn't be able to dodge it. The ball vanished from Mio's sight and appeared behind Zalgier and exploded, making the man scream. Zalgier turned to see Shilia awake and holding out her hand. She had gotten free of her restraints and the cage. Even though she was panting and sweating, she was smirking at him. "Warp gate," she said simply. "You fucking whore," yelled Zalgier. "Don't take your eyes off me," yelled Mio as she thrust her right hand forward. "Gravity flare bomb," yelled Mio. Zalgier yelled in pain as his world exploded in flames. Mio wasn't finished and managed to spin into a roundhouse kick that sent Zalgier reeling, before she followed up with the other attack. "Lightning current bomb," yelled Mio, sinking the attack into Zalgier's stomach. Zalgier yelled in pain as he was sent backwards, with pain exploding all over his body. He glared at Mio. He had underestimated these kids. But this was too much. Raising his sword, he prepared to end this fight, but felt an explosion of energy from where the boy was. He looked over to Naruto and saw him standing Thari with his sword infused with pure lighting. It was coming off of him in yellow, blue, and white sparks. His hair had even changed to a golden yellow. Naruto looked at Zalgier before swinging his sword. "Lightning armor," said Naruto, looking at Zalgier with his eyes sparking. "2." Mio looked at her, queen, in awe. She had only seen the lightning armor in its incomplete form. At that point, Naruto was only able to cover his arms or legs. That had been almost a year ago. To have completed the armor meant that Naruto had completed the ultimate boosting move. Naruto flexed his hand. The power of the lightning armor was amazing. He had only ever used it for training, but it gave him great speed and power. Not to mention that it increased the overall power of his lightning attacks. But he wouldn't be able to hold it for long. He could hold it for maybe a minute or two, before it ate up all his mana. Naruto vanished from sight and appeared next to Zalgier, sending him flying with a backhanded slash. Zalgier managed to block the attack, but his weapon and arms nearly broke thanks to the sheer force of Naruto's attack. "You won't beat me, child," yelled Zalgier, raising his sword only to feel nothing from the elbow down. He looked at his arm to see that blood was sputtering from the location. In the span of less than a second, Naruto had run from his spot and cut Zalgier's arm off. Naruto grabbed Zalgier by his, pinned him to the ground. Zaldir looked at the merciless eyes of the young man before him. Naruto pulled his blade back. I warned you to hold your freaking breath. Now disappear from my sight, trash. Spear of Raijin! Yelled Naruto as he thrust the sword downwards and Zaldir's stomach. Zaldir yelled in pain without remorse for fear at this moment. The pain was as if he died 100 times over. The resulting explosion destroyed the entire basement and the foundation and supports for the castle. Naruto allowed Banishing Shift to vanish, before Shalia and Mio ran over. Hold on tight to me. Rap travel, said Shalia. The trio appeared in front of the other girls just as the castle exploded, bringing everything down around it. Naruto sighed as he sat down on the ground. His blonde hair returned to black as his mana ran dry. He smiled at Maria as she hugged Shalia. Shalia released her girls. I have to speak with Wilbert. I have to let him know that I'm okay, said Shalia. Take Mio and Maria with you, said Yuki as she and Kurumi helped Naruto to his feet. Yuki-chan, said Mio. I'm going to need to borrow you girls' mana as I'm love, and to get to the Gremory Castle it's going to take some strength, said Shalia as she took Mio and Maria's hands and vanished. Zest created a portal to their home where they would be waiting for Mio and Maria to return. Location: Gremory Territory. Place: Gremory Castle, Chamber of the Elders. Time: evening. The elders and council glared at Wilbert. The head elder looked at Wilbert with nothing but contempt, seeing as he thought Wilbert was only just a bastard. For him to ask to use the resources of the clan to rescue a lesser creature was testament to a sin in their eyes. We will not allow this, Wilbert, and that is the end of this matter, said the head elder. Wilbert glared at the elders. Then you leave me no choice. I, Wilbert Gremory, do hereby challenge the Duke Zeodiux. Wilbert! Yelled Shalia as she appeared. Everyone looked at the trio of women that appeared, with Shalia rushing forward and throw her arms around her lover. Shalia! Said Wilbert. Are you her love? Shalia shook her head. No, my love. Thanks to Mio-chan and her pieces I am fine, said Shalia as she looked around. What is going on, my love? Why are you speaking with the elders? That is none of your concern, succubus, said an elder. Wilbert looked at the elder. Watch your damn mouth. You're talking to the woman I love. This chamber is for Gremory clan members only, not there, started an elder. Finish that sentence, and I'll kill you myself, came a voice from the door. Standing at the door was a man with pink hair, a long beard, his left eye was missing, wearing a noble suit, purple cape, and a black metal cane with an amethyst stone as its topper. 3. The elders, Zio, and Wilbert all froze. Standing at the doorway was the previous Duke Gremory. Uther. He had been a leader in the previous Devil faction and had helped forge alliances with the Demon Lord faction in the past. He had been inactive for well over 200 years now, but his mere presence still carried weight. Father, said Wilbert. When I heard from my agents that the elders were stopping one of my sons from saving family, then I knew I needed to step in, said Uther. My lord, Uther she is. The one my son chose as his wife even after the death of Ash. Remember that I too took a second wife who left this world after Wilbert's birth. Boys, go and spend time with your families. I'll take care of things from here, said Uther. But father, I am Lord Gremory, and I should make sure we won't have any more problems, said Zio. Uther rubbed his chin. You're right, but trust me when I say that what I plan will force the hand of the Duke, and as you are my son that will be a conflict of interest. Seeing as I have no desire to return as the Duke Gremory, I suggest you leave, said Uther, looking at his son with a narrowed blue eye. Zio shivered as he looked at his father, before nodding. He was no fool. He knew Wilbert could kick his ass, and while his father wasn't anywhere near as strong as Wilbert, he was still a force to be reckoned with. Once the room was clear, Uther pointed his cane at the door, sealing it. He then walked to the center of the room and created a chair. He sank into the chair and tapped his cane 3 times. Since you fools that it prudent to threaten the man with the former title of the Evil One's immediate family, let's have a little chat. Oh, and be thankful that my wife didn't decide to come here. She was pretty livid to hear what you were doing to her sweet little Rias, said Uther with a smile that promised pain. Location: Zaldir's Castle. Place: Zaldir's Castle. Time: late evening. Zaldir pulled himself out of the rubble. He was bloody, beaten, had a hole in his stomach, his nerves were on fire and missing his right arm, but he was alive. He looked around the rubble of his palace and cursed. He would have to rebuild the castle to further his experiments. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out the vial that housed his greatest achievement to date. He was about to pop the top on the vial. He felt an energy signature behind him. He turned and found a rifle pointed at him. Wait! You can't kill me. The committee started Zalgier. Ordered your execution in the event that you should lose. It looks like you lost, said the girl. Zalgier paled in fear as he brought up his right hand to attack, but found his head separated from his body. She picked up the vial and looked at the glowing red liquid in it. The girl shouldered her rifle, before jumping into the air. Great, now she didn't have anything to do. She'd have to return to base. Oh well. The committee would have another assignment for her before too long. They always did. Location: Hijigazaka Academy. Place: Classroom 3C. Time: 11:30 Thursday. The bell rang, signaling that it was time for lunch. The teacher looked at the clock on the wall before he turned to the class. Remember, students, Saturday is the school's sports festival. Your families are welcome to attend and even encouraged to do so, he kindly reminded them. Of the school's sports festival that was happening in a mere 2 days. Naruto rose to his feet and yawned. Normally he would be all for the sports festival, but currently he was too damn tired to care. Thanks to the fight with Zalgier, all of them were either injured or low on energy. Naruto was very low on mana. It would probably be another day or so before he had any energy. Hey Himejima-san! Yelled someone. Naruto looked at the two girls who walked up to him. It was Mio's two friends Chika and Shiho. Naruto often saw them around the manor with Mio from time to time, but because Naruto was a vessel of the Naru's family along with his parents, many people didn't look too deep into it. That and memory altercation magic was amazingly popular among the supernatural now. If only those idiot bigot wizards in Great Britain would learn that Obliterate didn't work on surveillance equipment, and weren't scared of someone who only ranked a low D in threat. 1. What did you need, Shiko-chan? Asked Naruto. Have you seen Mio-chan? Asked Shiho. Naru-san is away visiting family. Specifically, her mother just got out of the hospital, said Yuki. She should be returning by Friday, however. Shiho and Chiko nodded to Yuki before heading off, talking about what the fright could be. Anything from her mother being pregnant to her being a victim of a crime. Naruto smirked hearing this. The imaginations of people some. So Naruto-kun, how are we going to play at the sports festival? Asked Yuki. Naruto looked at Yuki and almost forgot. The sports teams were asked to put on full demonstrations. The basketball team was having a 3-3 match. The baseball team was holding a pitch hitter demo. Hell, even the swim team was doing a small meet and greet. No clue, said Naruto as they went to the roof to have lunch. Probably a 3-1 with the girls facing me. You're cruel, you know that? Asked Yuki. Naruto gave a small laugh as he opened the door to the roof. Upon opening the door, they saw Lars sitting there about to bite into a sandwich. He stopped and looked at Naruto and Yuki, before waving at them. If it isn't Naruto-kai, Yuki-chan. Come up here for a little lunchtime rendezvous? Asked Lars in his human form of Yahiko. Yuki glared at him. None of your business, said Yuki. What are you doing up here, Lars? Asked Naruto. Come on, Naruto-kai. It's Yahiko in this form. Honestly, I just want to eat lunch, but since you want to talk, I have to let you know that the entire Demon Lord faction is currently up in arms about the death of Zalgier, said Yahiko. That was quick. I would have figured it would have taken them a week at most to find out about his death, said Yuki. It probably would have had his head not been delivered to the headless body of the Demon Lord faction, said Yahiko, taking a bite of his sandwich. Naruto and Yuki froze hearing this. What do you mean headless? I left him for dead after I impaled him through the ground, said Naruto. Zalgier was a master of forbidden rituals and quite valuable to the current leader of the Demon Lord faction, Leonhardt. It's not a surprise to me that he survived your attack. I know Zalgier's power firsthand. By all accounts, he should have died. The man was known to have quite a lot of power, said Yahiko, looking at Naruto, his eyes saying that Lars was close to coming out. Yuki stepped forward and put her hand in a drawing motion. Naruto stepped before her, staying her blade. Naruto could feel the tension in the air as Yuki and Lars glared at each other. Yuki had never approved of the deal with Lars. Being a former member of the hero clan, she saw demons as more of a threat than devils. Lars himself had nearly killed Yuki and Kurumi when Naruto had first met them. In fact, it was how Naruto and Lars had gained their strange relationship, and how Yuki came to be Naruto's lover, only they didn't take that step till he was 16. By then he had already been quite experienced thanks to Maria and Zest. Maria because she was a succubus that had all but proclaimed Naruto as her destined mate, and Zest was a rabbit demon. Rabbit demons were fucking randy as hell. Let's just say that I've been working on something that can tip the scales in a big-time fight. By your own admission, you left him for dead and didn't intend to send his body to the Demon Lord faction. That means that it was another faction at work, said Yahiko, taking a sip of his drink. Yuki put her hand on her head and sighed. We're going to need a flow chart to keep track of all these factions, organizations, and sub-factions with how screwed up this is going to become, said Yuki. 1. You got anything else you want to say? Asked Naruto. Lars shook his head, before standing and throwing his wrapping paper away. Not really. Aside from rumors that I've been looking into. There have been some rumblings in the underworld that have quite a few demon lords scared. In fact, of all the things I do know currently, I'm not too thrilled myself. What kind of rumors? Asked Naruto. 2 have come up that I find interesting. One is a group known as Chaos Brigade, and another simply known as the Organization. I know more about the Chaos Brigade than I do about the Organization. It's honestly quite annoying to me, said Yahiko. Sounds like a good old time, said Yuki, cocking her hip to the side. Not really. Lord Leonhardt has tasked me with finding out everything I can about the 2. It's a pain in the ass. In fact, were it not for my clones, I'd be missing several weeks of school and my job monitoring Mio-san, said Yahiko. About that, said Naruto with a narrowed eye. We still good? Don't worry, Naruto-kai. Our deal still stands. So long as I provide you with a sparring partner and information on both the factions I work for, you'll pass along any non-classified information on the Devil faction. I'll leave you alone with your girlfriend. No doubt you want to bang her, said Lars as he left. Yuki looked at Naruto, who looked back at her. I don't like him, said Yuki. He's keeping you, Mio, Kurumi, and the others safe. You don't have to like him, but please tolerate him, said Naruto. I'm still upset, said Yuki, puffing out her cheeks. They really didn't have much to do at the moment. Want to have sex? Asked Naruto as he swatted her right ass cheek, making her jump slightly. Just so long as you fuck my ass. You know how that gets me going, said Yuki with a smile. Naruto picked Yuki up and pushed her on the fence. The duo would spend the rest of lunch having sex. 3. Location: Hijigazaka Academy. Place: School Infirmary. Time: 1200 Thursday. Chisato pushed her chair back from her desk and stretched her arms up above her head. She hated when the school festival rolled around. Not so much because she had to deal with the students, but because the school was open to the public. When the school became open to the public, it was an open invitation to the supernatural forces that lived in the area. While that normally wasn't a problem, this wouldn't be a problem, but it gave her people an opportunity to come to her. I haven't seen Naruto-kun in a while, perhaps I can have him over. Convince him to do more than help me put up a few items, thought Chisato with a blush on her cheeks. Daydream. Naruto followed Chisato into her apartment. Her heart was pounding as she felt his eyes on her shapely rear. Chisato removed her heels, but felt Naruto push her against the wall. Naruto turned her around and began to kiss her neck, while fondling her massive chest with one hand while he used his other to keep her hands pinned above her head. Using his knee, he spread her legs. Chisato moaned as his knee managed to hit her clit. Damn, Chisato-san. You're wet, said Naruto. Naruto-kun, we can't do this, moaned Chisato, not really struggling at all in the younger man's grasp. How she dreamed of having him take her, dominate her, love her only the way he could. And why not, Chisato-san? Asked Naruto as he continued to kiss her neck. Because we're student and teacher, said Chisato. What better way to have a forbidden romance, said Naruto as he leaned in to kiss Chisato. Daydream end. Hasagawa-sensei, came a voice from her door. Chisato was brought out of her daydream, turned slightly, and looked at the person. Her eyes were narrowed slightly in anger. While Chisato didn't normally drift so far into her daydreams, she was quite annoyed with the man before her, especially when he stopped her from thinking of Naruto. Mamoru Sakazaki. A normal-looking man, having dark brown hair and gray eyes. He wore a white button-up shirt that currently had the sleeves rolled up to the middle of his forearms, gray slacks, and brown loafers. He often looked calm and cool when he was around his students, and like herself, when it came to male students, he was quite the popular guy with the female students. Or at least the original was, until he showed his darker side to the older girls. Sakazaki-sensei. What can I do for you? Asked Chisato, crossing her arms over her chest. I wanted to ask you about Himejima-kun, said Sakazaki. This caught her interest. Oh? And what do you want to ask about when it comes to Naruto-kun? Asked Chisato. Naruto-kun, huh? Pretty dangerous to be on a first-name basis with a student, Chisato, said Sakazaki. Chisato glared at Sakazaki. Get OT the point or leave. I'm a busy woman. I want to ask about the nature of the contracts that you have him do for you, said Sakazaki. The nurse narrowed her eyes at him. The contracts between myself and Naruto-kun are our business and our business alone. Choose your next word, Sakazaki, or I will destroy you, said Chisato, letting some of her power slip into her voice. Sakazaki threw his hands up in defense. Please, Hagasawa-sensei, I didn't mean it as a threat. The Royal Council told me to make sure that you weren't up to anything inappropriate, said Sakazaki. Chisato closed her eyes. Why even bother watching me, Sakazaki? I've been stripped of majority of my power in my exile and bound by my oath to my departed friend Shuri. I can't help that I've gotten close to one of her children. Sakazaki frowned. You've gotten too close to the boy. Were it just as a mentor I would understand, but you're going into a dangerous place. While I know that you've kept your distance from the girl, the boy could be a problem for the clan in the future, said Sakazaki. After all, he is the spawn of Barakiel and thus descendant from the one who left our clan. Chisato looked at Sakazaki, before she opened her palm and summoned a green thin beam. She clutched it in her hand and swung it a few times, before thrusting it at Sakazaki. Sakazaki brought up his own hand and summoned a beam similar in nature to Chisato's. While Chisato wasn't exuding much power at all, Sakazaki was struggling to keep her at bay. Sakazaki was pushed to his knees as he tried to hold out from her attack, but it was little use. If Chisato had full range of her power, then she could have killed him before he could blink. 4. The Royal Council is content to sit on the sidelines on the planet we created in the space between the void and stay out of the affairs of the other races. We call ourselves the God Tribe, but in truth we are cowards and even more greedy than devils. You brought up Jehovah, so I'll kindly remind you that even though he left our tribe and proclaimed himself the one true God, many of the 10 still stood above him in terms of raw power, said Chisato before she pulled away and released her beam. Sakazaki released his own beam and wiped his brow. I don't understand why one of your power would leave everything behind for those humans, said Sakazaki. Chisato turned away from him and sat down. Unlike the rest of you, I have no desire to use my power for my own gains. In fact, before they did what they did, I loved that clan as if they were my own children, said Chisato. Don't you see, Hagasawa-sensei, with our power we could take over not only the world, but take over the angels and even make them bow to us as the new gods of this world. That was your one warning, Sakazaki. Next time I won't hold back, said Chisato. Sakazaki frowned as he turned and walked away from Chisato. He would have to get rid of the boy for her to realize her place in the world was as its new god. Location: Gremry Territory. Place: Gremry Castle, Expansive Gardens. Time: late evening. The halls of Gremry Castle had always been warm and full of life compared to the other clans that existed. Each servant of the Gremry clan was treated as family. Out of all the reborn devils to come to the underworld in the last few hundred years, the Gremry clan had never had a devil defect. Sure, some of the other clans often called the Gremry out on this, but because of their political and military power, no one was foolish enough to test the limits of the Gremry's kind nature, especially with the leader of all devils and one of the 2 ultimate class devils hailing from the clan. Existing in the southern parts of the Gremry territory, it was hailed as one of the most beautiful places to live in the underworld. The garden was quite popular. It was comparable to Kenroquin Garden in Japan. Mio actually found herself standing before the pond looking into the crystal clear waters. She wore an off-shoulder pink shirt that showed off her black bra straps and a white skirt. In her arms was her familiar Chabi. She had spent her time with her father, her stepmother, and her sisters. The group had done nothing but really talk and comfort each other. They spent all of yesterday together just being a family. Mio and Maria would be returning to the human world tonight so that Mio could attend school Friday and go to the sports festival Saturday. Wilbert, Shalia, and Lucia would come to the festival to see what Mio and the others in action. 1. So this is where you've been hiding, huh, Mio? Honestly, when you were a child you used to come to this pond all the time when you wanted to think, came a voice from behind her. Mio turned to see her grandfather walking up to her. Mio had only met her grandfather a handful of times, but the times that she did met him he always imparted some type of wisdom on her. Uther, while no longer the Duke Gremry, still had considerable political power, both inside and outside of the clan. Grandfather, said Mio, jumping to her feet and bowing to the man. Uther chuckled as he had a seat on the bench next to where Mio stood. Please sit, Mio, it's been a long time since we've had a chat, just the two of us. I have no desire to scare my granddaughter, at least not when it comes to politics. Oh, how I used to scare the pants off of Xerxes when he was a child. Forgive me, grandfather. But what are you doing here? I was sure that you would still be with grandmother in your villa. Uther smiled. I had some business to take care of with the council and elders. If it wasn't for the fact I had no desire to be dragged back into politics, I would take over as head of the elders, said Uther. Mio looked at her grandfather with a weary gaze. He was up to something. How is grandmother? Asked Mio as she patted Shabby on her head. Sapphire is missing her grandchildren and great-grandson. She wants to come visit more often, but she is content to just be lazy in the cabin we live in. Although news still reaches us on all the matters that have been happening in the territory. Because of how isolated we are, it's easier for us to ignore the happenings in the territory, said Uther. That makes sense. Sometimes I just want to get away and be with Naruto-kun, said Mio, before her eyes widened. Uther stroked his beard as if in deep thought. Naruto-kun, huh? Forgive me, but the name isn't familiar to me. He must be quite important for you to say his name with such affection, asked Uther. Mio looked away from her grandfather. Yes, grandfather. He is quite special to me. Naruto-kun is my queen and good friend. He's been with me since Rias traded him to me. It took a long time for him to trust me or even speak with me. Even still, he's strong, kind, always willing to help others, and the loyalty to his friends is unmatched by others, said Mio. He sounds like quite the young man. I'll have to meet him myself. He is grandfather. When Maria-chan joined me as my rook, he took her under his wing and taught her how to fight, said Mio as she blushed thinking of all the training they did. He has become quite important to me and the rest of my peerage. Of course, he's closer to Zest, Uther, and Maria than me, said Mio. Uther chuckled. Don't count yourself short, Mio-chan. I'm sure the boy loves you, but his position as a middle-class devil and yours as an heiress candidate and high-class devil complicate things. To the clan and elders you are just another bargaining chip, but to your immediate family. To your peerage you are more than a leader or a master. A sister, a friend, a lover. Honestly, were it not for the old Satan's and God's death, we never would have had all the problems we're currently having. Like a rather pesky contract and talks within the clan about the status of our heiress, said Uther. Mio looked at her grandfather. What are you started Mio. A magic circle appeared behind Mio and Uther. Out of the circle stepped a woman who looked a lot like Maria and Shalia, but with sharper features and shorter hair. Her were quite large, and easily some of the largest Mio had seen. Lucia Nasan, said Mio. Lucia smiled at her adopted sister. Hello, Mio-sama. It's time for you and Maria to return to the human world, said Lucia. But I was speaking with grandfather, said Mio. Go ahead and head on home, Mio. Besides, we'll see each other again real soon, my dear Mio-chan, said Uther. Mio nodded to her grandfather, before rushing over to Luca and teleporting away with her. Uther looked at the spot that Mio and Lucia had vanished from. He smiled to himself, before returning his gaze to the pond, lost in his own thoughts of the future. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Nasia Manor. Time: 1900 Thursday. Maria, Lucia, and Mio arrived in the living room of the Nasia Manor only to find the others waiting for them, a big sign in the living room that said "Welcome home, Maria and Mio." The two girls looked at their friends with large smiles on their faces. On the table was plenty of their favorites and the like. You did this all for us? Asked Maria, looking at the others. Zest smiled and walked up to Maria, before hugging her. Of course we did, Maria-chan. We may not be blood, but we are family, said Zest, hugging the younger woman. Maria smiled at Zest. So does this mean that you'll let me and Naruto-sama double-team you? Asked the perverted girl. Zest lost her smile, before chopping Maria on the head lightly. Not on your life, especially after you used that succubi monster dildo on my ass last time. Lucia looked at her little sister. For shame, Maria. Using such an advanced toy on a peerage member. I do know. Zest-chan made the most interesting noises that night, said Naruto. Zest blushed. And Naruto-sama, please not in front of the others. Mio smiled at her friends. Despite how weird they could all be, she wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. At least until Yuki began to tease her about her and how sensitive they were compared to the other girls in the house. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Hijigazaka Academy, Teacher's Office. Time: 17:20 Friday. Naruto sighed as he walked to the teacher's offices. Apparently he was wanted by Sakazaki-sensei for something. Naruto honestly had never really had problems with the man, but that didn't mean that he cared for what he had to say. Sakazaki was one of two teachers who had a lot of pull at the school, with the only other person being Chisato. Opened the door to the teacher's lounge. He had been called here by Sakazaki-sensei on what he claimed was a rather sensitive matter. Sakazaki sat at his desk with a smile on his face. Sakazaki-sensei. You wanted to see me? Asked Naruto. Himejima-kun, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. I know that you're busy with the sports festival and your upcoming match with Go, said Sakazaki. So why did you call me? Asked Naruto. Sakazaki reached into his desk and pulled out one of Mio's wishing seals. I ran across these the other day. I remember seeing Mio-san with this. I took it to a friend of mine, a priest, and he told me that it contained magic of a dark sort, said Sakazaki. Naruto glared at Sakazaki, before gripping his collar and lifting him in the air. His right hand blazed with the white-hot plasma of a Chidori ready to strike. Give me one good reason that I shouldn't kill you where you stand, asked Naruto, ready to kill this man. While Naruto could erase his memory, that still left the priest who Naruto didn't know, as well as the fact that Sakazaki could discover another magic circle and do it all again. No, in Naruto's mind it was better to eliminate the intimidate threat to his Mii master, and then find out where the priest was. Wait! Yelled Sakazaki, throwing his hands up in fear. I've known about the supernatural for some years now. I knew that Nezuko-san was a devil, but I didn't know you were as well. Naruto grit his teeth before dropping Sakazaki on his chair. Then what did you call me for? Asked Naruto. Sakazaki looked at Naruto. I just needed to warn you to be careful of Hawagasa-sensei. I had to do some digging, but when I discovered what she was, I had to warn you, said Sakazaki. Warn me? Warn me about what? Asked Naruto. Sakazaki smiled at Naruto with glowing green eyes. Location: Tokyo, Shinjuku District. Place: Chisato apartment. Time: 1945, Friday. Chisato sat in her apartment looking at a picture that had been taken several years ago. In it was a young woman and large man holding a pair of babies wrapped in blankets, pink in the man's large arms and blue in the woman's. Next to the woman was Chisato herself, only her hair wasn't as long. She was smiling at the woman. Chisato ran her hand across the picture as she picked up her glass of wine.